Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. Bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Streaming live on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel, here's Nick and Matt.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning into the show tonight. I'm actually here in Massachusetts for episode 69, so I'm super excited to be hanging out with my boys Evan and Matt tonight. And we're just going to have a fun night talking with the offseason. I know we have Wes Shinovar coming on around 7:30. And then other than that, we'll just be hanging out, having a good time talking offseason.
Nick, I can't believe last episode you were in studio. Was that with when we had the big, large group and Jeff Korn's Resistance Discs?
I think so. Because I was here the week after that, too, for my sister's wedding. So I wonder if I was in studio for that one as well. But I can't remember now. Anyways, so back in September was the last time that I was here in Massachusetts.
That's months ago. So this is a special occasion in studio as always. And you saw from our back camera there, there's Evan. We're glad to have him, Stat Mando. Totally appreciate what they bring. You got some stat or fiction lined up for tonight?
I do, of course.
What would it be like if he walked in and he's like, got nothing. I just want to be on the show tonight.
I don't know, man. With how quick he comes up with stats, though, I'm sure he could come out with a stat or fiction within 2 minutes. I mean, realistically.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong.
I think he did that actually for us. He did that for us. Was it? Well, not quite, but like we were like, hey, we need extra stats.
Yeah, I think I changed 2 out of 3. Yep.
All right. I'm going to be busy switching all 6 cameras tonight, so I'm going to do my best with that. Nick, it is episode 69. I was away last week. We did a show last week, and then I traveled to Wisconsin. And while out there, I made sure to make time. Well, not quite made sure, but it worked out. A few of our fans, our listeners, hit us up and were like, hey, if you're in this area, let me know. I'll get in around. So somebody hit me up. I was close enough, got in around, and it was actually a really nice course. And while I'm out there, I shared a story, and Terry Miller hits me up. It's like, dude, that's where Johnny V and I think he said grew up. Like that was like our home course. So I've played a very famous course in Wisconsin.
No kidding.
I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It was some O'Hare. I don't remember now.
I haven't been out there yet. Minnesota and Wisconsin are two of the states that I do want to play in. I've heard a ton of good things about them, especially with Blue Ribbon Pines and then the Preserve, obviously, but I have not had a chance yet to get out there and play.
Well, so while I'm there, he said I could tell you, this guy who I'm playing with goes, like, how much to buy the show? And I'm like, interesting. So we start talking. And some numbers were said, Nick, and I'm not proud, but I turned them all down. And I didn't consult you. We're talking a lot of money.
What entails with buying the Nick and Matt show?
Exactly my question.
I'm kind of, that was curious. We'll at 9:00 we'll do like a subscriber only
debriefing
chat afterwards, and everyone can. No, I'm just kidding.
And so
curious.
He's like, well, remember me for the future. I'll be your money guy. And I'm like, huh. Part of the deal was him coming on the show every now and then. And I was like, huh.
For the right price.
I know. I'll tell you the price and you'll be shocked. I'll just say this, 6 figures. Nick's already. He's serious.
Bro,
yeah.
Why did you call me?
Sense?
Nick hasn't even heard this yet.
It's like $100.0. No, I don't know.
Anyways, we will talk about that off the air, but I just throw it out there. Anybody want to bid higher than a 6-figure number? Like, maybe we'll consider it. That's all I can say.
7-figure. We will give you the show, and you can be on every week and tell me exactly what to say.
I'll tell you what to say. You cannot say gyro. You have to say euro.
All right, we're turning it down.
And you have to say GIF. Next. Okay.
Nope, I couldn't do it.
Getting carried away. There it was. Hauser Park. Someone commented. So, all right. That was fun anyways. And then one other thing that happened this past week. Why are you up here mainly? Is there like a reason?
Yeah, main reason is the Winter Team Challenge that we do here in New England, and in New York as well. And so my team plays in the A pool along with Matt's team. Actually, they're both in the A pool. It's funny because before it was Team Buff, which is the one that I play on, and actually Matt introduced me to that team years and years ago. And then they made some roster changes, and then they also came out with another team called Two Buff, which
We are too buff.
which originally was kind of like the farm team. But I mean, not gonna lie, you guys are kicking some ass. I saw a pretty sweet walk-off ace go on at your last match against Topo. So what are you guys now, like 3-0?
No.
2-1?
2-1.
Okay, so
We lost up at BSR at their home, but we were close.
we beat
lost to
BSR at home back 2 years ago.
Yeah. I
No.
would venture to say,
Yeah.
Nick, I really hope we get to play the original buff, because if that happens,
Oh, for the neutral match?
there
Yeah.
will be money going down for sure.
I'll throw money on anything.
I'm gonna kick myself later for saying this, but I would bet so much money our team would beat yours.
Right now, so I think
That's what I'm thinking.
Neutrality wise, I think if we pick a neutral course, it's anyone's game.
True.
You guys have a ton of young studs right now, just really, making names for themselves in our area. And our team right now, a couple of the guys that got injuries. I mean, I have to travel from Virginia to come all the way up this way. We lost one of our players who was good. Casey isn't on the team anymore because he's down in Florida. So I mean, a lot of our players who we were kind of, banking on for the season that we had in 2019 before COVID hit. That team, we were the 6-0, the undefeated team trying to make a push at finals. And, it just kind of, 2 years go by, COVID hits in a different way. We lose some players. You guys gain some players. And no, I'm excited for it though. But we had a match against Crane. One of the main reasons why I wanted to come up was actually because we were playing them. I know a ton of the guys on their team, all super cool. The two girls on their team are great. And I actually had my first doubles loss in 2.5 years. That match. Yeah, Binley and I lost by 2.
I looked at your score and you shot hotter than anyone else on your
we
team.
would have beaten any other team that we played against.
Well, and it was the best for your team.
Yeah, exactly. And so Binley
And
and
you
I
still lost.
Binley and I played great. And I had a lackluster. We didn't hit any putts outside of 40 feet, which was
But
really
it wasn't that bad of a. You beat everybody on your team.
Nah, I mean, you kind of look at it where it's just like, the first round is the first
You're such
round.
a disc golfer.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like, it wasn't good enough.
No, the first round though, when we were playing match play, the guy I was playing against, I was 8 down through 9 holes, and so I had like 4 points in the first 9 holes because I was just
8 down through 9 holes.
Yeah, I was killing it the first round. It wasn't. I missed one putt the first hole. I slipped on some leaves on my back foot. On that, I hit pretty much everything. And second round, throwing okay drives, just wasn't getting them far. I was also kind of playing that layout
Okay.
a little blind.
Okay, so listen, this is good, but people are literally like yelling at us, like, "What is team challenge?" So
Do you want me to explain it? Do you think that's why they're yelling? I'll give a brief little thing. It's a winter league that we do here in New England. We played. I'm just gonna use an example. Team Buffinville. Say we're playing the other Team Buff, the 2 Buff guys. It's 20 on 20. So the first round you do singles match play. Whoever wins after X amount of holes, you play all 18 if you have to. If you win it, that counts as 1 point. If you guys push, it's 0 points, and if you lose it, obviously the other team gets 1 point. You add up all the scores at the end of the first round, and then in the second round, you play 18 holes of stroke play in doubles. So every team picks their doubles teams. You throw one out. So say it's me and Evan. We put our names up, and then all of a sudden it's Matt and Vaughn. And so now we're playing against them, 18 holes of stroke play. It cannot end in a tie. You have to go to a playoff if you guys are tied up at the end of it. And then whoever wins, if you win your doubles match, it's 2 points. So when all is said and done, whoever has the most points wins. It's a super, super fun time. Great camaraderie. Ton of trash talking, which is actually probably one of my favorite parts about it. And at lunchtime, we have like a good spread. Every team, whoever's hosting the match, puts together a great spread. You have some great food. A lot of people will bring different beers from their local breweries. That's something that I've appreciated over the years.
it's a huge potluck. It's like
Yeah,
a barbecue,
exactly.
cookout, whatever. Like
it's honestly, it's
in the cold,
most,
though.
It's the most, yeah, exactly. It's all wintertime. So you're in the cold, but at the same time, you're having so much fun in a sense, and you're competing. Like I'm just obsessed with competing. And so when I
which
win, when I
was
lose,
going to ask you about.
yeah,
So it's different than a tournament.
Mhm.
It's
it's unsanctioned, obviously.
unsanctioned, and it could be just where I'm at currently with my disc golf career.
Mhm.
But like, I really, really, really enjoyed New England Team Challenge. Like, it's very different to me than a tournament.
Yeah.
And I still get the competitive drive. In golf isn't a team camaraderie sport, but I get a little bit of that. but it still rests on you to win your match. It's really interesting. Do you agree?
We've had plenty of matches where, like, you know, I've lost a singles match before that. Had I just won that one singles match, bam, our team potentially wins. And a lot of people can say that, but I've had a moment, it was like 4 years ago, where I played a guy, we were playing a neutral match. We ended up pushing. And so we got 0 points for our teams, but had I won that match, Team Buff would have won that neutral match. So it's super fun. Like I said, it's very competitive. It's very friendly at the same time. Like, you've been playing with these same people for years. You know, you have to start out at the lower level pool. Like, let's say you start out in the E pool. Every year you try to make your way up until you get into the A pool. Both Matt and our teams are in the A pool right now. So we've been playing against the same people for years and years. And so just coming back, you know, I live in Virginia now. I don't get to see all my homies. And so being able to see all my teammates every single time we play, we go out to this local bar in Worcester. We get some great food, you know, have some drinks. And it's just a great time to see all my friends again. So it makes it well worth the trip. Even though we lost as a team, it makes it well worth the trip coming up here and playing Team Challenge, which my goal is to play the next 3, qualify for finals. If I can keep getting cheap enough plane tickets, then I'll 100% be able to come up for them. But if, I mean, it's like a $350 plane ticket, I don't know if I want to do that drive again. I've done that drive.
Nick and Matt
times.
show will start paying to fly you up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
Having you in studio is a dream, Nick. No.
It's awesome. It's funny because when I was playing, we're warming up. And, you know, it's 8:30 in the morning. It's only 30 degrees out. I'm warming up with some really good friends of mine, Kyle Moriarty, Joe Yak. And I'm literally just watching them walk up the fairway after I threw my disc. And I'm like, dang, this is one of those moments where, like, you know, you wish you still lived somewhere. And I'm like, man, I wish I still lived in Mass for this specific, just, you know, seeing all my really, really close friends. I have a ton of incredible friends, and my girlfriend lives in Virginia. So obviously, you know, I'm not moving from there anytime soon. But at the same time, it is good to come back.
$1 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 7 figures. I'd be back. Yeah, I could convince her to be okay with that. I'm sure.
Oh man. So Team Challenge is fantastic. You mentioned your team lost. My team won in dramatic fashion, as you mentioned. It came down to where, like, we were down in singles the first round. Then we had to win 6 of our 10 matches, or 6 of our 8, or whatever it was. I don't remember now. But we won just enough to tie. We won. Yeah, we won enough of our doubles matches to tie. So we go from a tie to, you put up 2 of your best players versus 2 of their best players, and it can be anybody. And you just start on a sudden death playoff. Our first guy steps up, probably is going to give himself a long putt for a birdie. And then our second guy steps up and literally skip aces it in. New England is like, what? This might be the first time that's ever happened, like a playoff win with an ace, right? And this, I say kid, I think he's probably 20 now. I apologize. Harry Chase.
I call everyone a kid. Like, I'll be like, oh yeah, my friend Matt, you know, good kid over there, and he's freaking 6 years older than me with 5 kids or 4 kids. You know, like
6 years older, 5 kids.
Yeah,
10 years older, 4 kids.
Yeah,
no,
whatever.
What up, kid? So, so where I'm going with this is, like, Harry Chase tells me, like, during lunch that day, he's like, somehow it came up, Nick and Matt show, because of course I'm going to bring it up, and he's like, oh, you're Nick and Matt show? He's like, I'm sorry, I don't listen, but, like, I've heard of you guys. And then he's like, I just want you to know that, like, I didn't know anything really about, like, disc golf being competitive. I didn't know it was a pro sport. I didn't know any of this until kids disc golf happened, and you guys ran the junior championships, U.S. junior championships at Smugs. I saw it. We went up there. We competed. I had zero idea about the future opportunities. But since that day, I've, like, dedicated myself to playing. And I go, you good now? He goes, yeah, I'm pretty good. He's like, I'm like 990 rated right now. And I'm like, dang, dude, like, you're going from, like, just getting into it a couple years later.
Is he from Mass?
He's from Rhode Island, which, you know, is not a big scene there.
Yeah.
So Harry Chase, he's the one who throws the ace. And I was just like, it's just an epic full come around story. Like, he does it. He gets the ace. The video it's on video. That's the other epic part. Mm-hmm. He's just, like, whipping his hat. Like, everyone's screaming. It was excellent. Team win. And he did it. So that's Team Challenge. I've had people hit me up in the past, be like, can I get more information on Team Challenge? And I'm like, I'm not the man in charge. There's a lot going on up here. Honestly, Nick, who would I send them to? Like, I feel like there's so many people they could get in contact with, but it's really cool. Probably even Google it, New England Team Challenge, see if you can find some of the right people.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We don't need to leave Evan out of the whole conversation, Evan. If you have anything to say, speak up.
No, I'm doing good.
And we are going to be bringing in Wes Shinovar of Discraft. And I say of Discraft, he's a team manager or a team
captain, maybe team manager of Discraft Underground.
Underground, yeah. And I think he'll add a great voice. We aren't interviewing him, but he will be a great voice for adding his opinions. And so we thought we'd bring him in. So, Nick, disc golf, I talked about Team Challenge, but disc golf is still happening. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is there are pro players out there, touring pro players who are still playing, A tiers and whatever else, and they're like winning and getting seconds and thirds and like posting and, hey, I just did this and that. And I think to myself, what is it about competition that's driving these people to still compete? Like, and I haven't said any names yet, but I'm going to say like Paul Macbeth, not competing as far as I know. Are there any tournaments coming up you might play? Maybe. Ricky Wysocki. Nope. Okay. Nick says no. Ricky Wysocki. I don't see him competing and posting about it. Like, so those are two of our bigger names. There's a lot of other names, but like, what's the difference in players? And like, why would they do it? Why would you do it? If someone hits you up to like play a tournament in the off season here, Nick, like, what is it about the off season that compels these players to still play?
It's funny. I just played a C tier a couple weekends ago. It was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, actually, and little chilly morning, okay afternoon. I lost in a playoff, which was, I think I talked about it last week, actually. Paul and Ricky and Eagle and a bunch of other guys, they've earned the right to not have to compete in the off season. They're not trying to make a name for themselves because they've already made the name for themselves. These other guys, though, that are out there, and other women that are out there as well, they still, rely on tournament winnings to, get by for the next month, maybe the next week. They rely on bonuses and that kind of clout that you get. I know Terry Miller was just filming some events down in Florida, and so players, our good friend Casey White, if he goes out and snags an A-tier win, in December, that's pretty huge. An A-tier win is usually a pretty good bonus structure with your team, whatever team you're playing for. An A-tier win just in general is a good feeling. It's usually $1,000 or more for tournament winnings from an A-tier. And you just kind of join that club of, you're an A-tier winner. And I think Casey has multiple A-tier wins now at this point, biggest one being Greater Hartford probably. But yeah, a lot of these players right now, especially if the weather's nice. I mean, I'll tell you this, at the end of the season, I was so looking forward to just kind of like get my body back in shape. Not having to worry about going out an hour away and practicing a course and not going out to a field and practicing, rather than just, I want to go out and redefine my backhand or redefine my forehand, whatever. And then it's funny because now that tournaments are over currently, for the off season, I'm like, dang, I really wish I lived in like Florida or something where I could still compete, at least. It's just fun. Tournaments, man, they're a great time. It's tough to give an exact reason why people would still be out there playing, but I think for the most part, it's really just, it helps out them. It helps out their sponsorship. It gives them more abilities to get into the next role of their, disc golf life. And then obviously you're honing in your skills. You're building that tournament pressure. I only became decent at tournaments when I started playing more and more tournaments. I've obviously lost way more times than I've won. But at the same time, you build that maturity of like, now I'm not as nervous on this 20, 25 foot putt. I don't feel those jitters that I used to because I'm more confident now that I've hit this putt thousands of times before. And playing tournaments is one of the biggest things to help you out. And then right now in disc golf, we have the rating system, and playing well at tournaments boosts up your rating. I know next year or the year after that, it's going to be tougher to play at Pro Tour events unless you're 1,000 rated or above. I don't know exactly when that's going to be implemented, but for the most part, touring disc golf is going to be strictly for touring disc golfers. And so playing tournaments in the off season, if that's, I was kind of nervous actually when I played that C tier. I was like, you know what? I haven't played well at this course before. I don't really like it, but at the same time, I did want to try to end the year on a high note. I ended up averaging my rating at it, which was, good. But at the same time, if I shoot 980s at it, I just have a bad weekend and all of a sudden I drop below 1,000. That potentially is detrimental for me trying to sign up for Pro Tour events next year. Or, it puts me, because of 1,000 rated players get the first pick at it, and there's a decent amount of them now. And then 970 and above, it's pretty much who has, the faster internet at the time. So that's one thing. If you're trying to boost up your ratings, make sure you get above that 1,000 mark threshold, then keep on playing. Or for women, I don't know, the women's is a 900 or above. I'm not really sure for their signups.
Yeah, I'll have to relook at that. It is lower for sure. I think it's interesting the points you made. I actually think you're probably spot on, like for the most part. I just beg to wonder though, like competition and playing tournaments, like is a drive for some people. Like that's why they play disc golf, and it's
like, you know, Evan, if you can help us out quick, go to Schwebe's page for this year. That dude has played, I think he's going to finish the year at like 40 tournaments.
Yeah, and he's done every tier of event. Like he just plays whatever.
And
event,
he's winning the majority of them. I think he's got over 33 wins this year, which, you know, is close to the record. I think someone had like 42 wins one year.
So he does that.
But
well, yeah. Did you see the Statmando tweet about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, you tweeted about it, right?
Yeah,
or the Statmando page tweeted.
Yeah, Schweberger was wondering if he had the most wins. I'm blanking. Raul Alvarez, I think. But he has a lot of uncontested wins. There's a lot to discuss within that. But yeah, Schweberger, I think he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 losses on the season in MP40, and then probably 50-50 in Open.
Not gonna lie, one of those losses in Open is against yours truly, Nick Carl.
No. First of all, people want you to chat in the chat. They like that when you do that.
I'll put it up. I'll put it up on my phone.
It's like he can't do it.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a computer in front of me this time, but I'll put it up on my phone.
No.
But I did just want to say that, like, you know, I played, I think, over 20 events this year. A few pro tours, did okay at those. I played a lot of local events, did okay at those. And at the end of the season, I was pretty worn out, and especially just, you know, with life in general, it hits you at the same time. But now that I'm not competing, like, to be honest, I've got a couple things in the works that I'm really working on, but man, I miss competing. You know, it's one of the reasons why it's one of the main reasons why I play disc golf is I want to have that title of, like, when I won Tour de Richmond or No Quarter at New Quarter, like, you know, when you go back and you got a couple first place trophies, like, it's a good feeling. And then it's funny enough, because when I go back to the house I live at, you know, I live with Paul and Hannah, and I go back in there, and when you step right in, there's just the 2019 World's Trophy or like something, you know, just these really, really cool trophies. And so you kind of look at it every single day and you're like, ah, man, as much as I love the off season, I kind of want to get back out there, especially, you know, I'll make it official right now, but I did actually just re-sign with Discraft. This will be my first full year playing for the tour team of Team Discraft. So super excited about that. Be on the lookout for some future endeavors that are or some future projects that are happening with that. But yeah, believe me, if I lived in Florida right now, or in those states where it's, you know, 60, 70, 80 degrees still, if there was an A tier, B tier, something like that, I'd 100% be playing it.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. I mean, Eagles not playing. There's all these like top, I don't know. Did Calvin just play?
Yeah, Calvin just played that one down in Florida. Calvin's one of those players who does play those A tiers down in Florida. He generally plays those. Dickerson sometimes
Florida.
goes down. Yeah, Dickerson sometimes and even goes down to those. If you got the nice weather, why not? You know, it's still.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is like part of it's weather, part of it is status.
Talk about this. I mean, you got an A tier. Calvin Heimberg, Rivera is what, top 10 player in the world. You got him going to an A tier.
Hot take. I don't think he's top 5.
Oh, I said top 10.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I had to throw it out there.
So, let's say he wins it. Okay, let's say he makes $1,300 off the A tier. Innova probably has a pretty decent bonus structure. Don't know exactly what it is, but let's just throw out a number. Let's say he gets $1,000 for winning an A tier as a bonus. You're talking now he just made $2,400 to play a weekend worth of disc golf.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're that good, and you know you don't have this massive like, you know, Paul's got a big contract. He's not looking at all of his tournament winnings this year went to the Paul Macbeth Foundation. So he's not playing for the money in that sense of it. But there are still players that are out there who, you know, that's, you know, monthly changing money, not yearly changing. But I mean, Nathan Queen winning $30,000. I mean, you put on a tournament, eventually tournaments A tiers are going to be $5,000 to win an A tier. Competition is going to be so hard that it's going to be hard to win it. But at the same time,
you know what's sad that I just thought of, and this is just off the cuff. Nathan.
Oh my goodness, you did it.
I think that's the first time we did it on the show.
That's the first time, yeah. Isn't that, wait, what movie is that? Cars? I have kids, right? Is it Cars? The show where it's like Nathan McQueen?
Lightning McQueen.
Lightning. Why am I saying Nathan?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
Nathan McQueen.
Nathan Queen, Lightning McQueen. It's, you know, we're getting there. We're figuring it out.
So slow down. So him winning an event that big every month still doesn't even make him a half or even a third of what Paul McBeth makes a year, not winning. That's how big of a disparity there is between like winning events and your contract. Well, that's all right. Nick's pulling up, getting ready to chat.
But at the same time, you think about that tournament that he won for $30,000. He doesn't just make like. I'll use a better example. James Conrad wins what $20,000 at Worlds this year.
Yeah, but it's probably
500 or something.
Okay, so 16,500, 20, whatever it was. But at the same time, winning Worlds, one, you get a bonus. Two, you get discs with your name on it now that are world champion discs. And then they came out with a stupid amount of those envies, like an insane amount. I mean, just off of winning Worlds, James probably made over $300,000. And so Nathan Queen wins $30,000 at that one tournament, but now, you know, commemorative discs come out with his name on it. Maybe he makes another $30K off of those. And all of a sudden that one tournament win turns into a $70,000 paycheck potentially for Nathan Queen.
And then how does his next contract look?
Yeah,
he gets
exactly.
that onto his next contract. James is going to get a hefty payday from MVP or whoever he goes to.
Even just players not even winning a major right now, but even just players winning Elite Series. You know, Kyle Klein, Adam Hammes, Connor O'Reilly, all these different players who came out this year and won an Elite Series event, they get to now go to their contracts. And now that contracts are becoming more publicly known, agencies are coming into the equation. Look at all the offseason moves that are being made right now. And a lot of them with DGPM, you know, kind of, you know, in the front seat of those. Cole Redolin. I mean, a couple more players with that. DGPM has been, you know, in the works with a lot of different things.
Yeah, so I guess to kind of wrap up that conversation is some people are just going to choose to compete, but I am probably making way too large of a jump here to say that, like, I don't know. I was just thinking like it's a status thing, like choosing not to compete as a status, like to make that like point, like I just compete when I want to for money, but everybody competes when they want to. I just feel like some are trying to take advantage, and probably rightfully so, of the off season to earn a little extra cash, make their sponsors proud, all that. So that's good. All right.
I did want to say something really quick because now I did briefly jump in the chat. I've got it pulled up on my phone. I'm not going to be able to comment as much, obviously. But I did actually see people commenting about the hat that I'm wearing. Mm-hmm. It was shown on Simon's vlog.
Lean into the camera a little bit.
I'm going to lean in. Someone said the Vegas Knights logo.
There you go.
So it is actually my new logo. There's NC written in the middle of it for Nick Carl. And I have a tattoo of a knight on my arm. That's one of the reasons why I went with kind of the knight logo. It wasn't just
that disc golfer.
Yeah, it wasn't just the simple, you know, NC. I wanted to add a little bit more into it. There's still going to probably be some tweaks made to it, but for right now, this is the first run. This actually, my buddy and I went and made this hat just before I came here to Massachusetts. But yeah, you guys finally get an official look at my brand, which will be the Knight. I have some really, really cool pictures, but I'm not going to show those right now. But I have some sick stuff coming out.
I've got some
anyways,
cool photos.
Yeah.
That is cool, Nick. You've been working on that for a while. Evan and I have had the inside scoop for a little while, and Nick kept being
years.
like, "Yeah, we can't show it."
Yeah, years. I wish. Nah, decent amount of time now. I'm super. You know, I'm super pumped for it. It came out. It does resemble, like, I love old medieval stuff. One of my favorite movies is Braveheart. I love the old kind of like Knights in Armor. I love all of that. Game of Thrones was one of my favorite shows.
It's Knight Carl.
Yeah,
Nicholas.
Yeah,
Carl,
exactly. Someone was it you who said that?
Yeah, I said.
Yeah,
Nick
you called
Carl.
me Knight Carl. Yeah.
Knight Carl.
Yeah, and so no,
like an
it's very similar. I can't show it right now, but it's very similar to the tattoo that I have on my arm.
Oh, you can show.
Yeah, I have to delayer. I'm pretty sure I have a long sleeve shirt on underneath, so I don't want to. Strip down right now. But
I don't remember who I was talking to, but it all comes back to Paul having like the farmer's tan. Did you notice that when he was on our show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And someone else was talking about it. And then someone started saying how funny it would be if we had a segment where the goal of whether it was Evan and Nick, like you being here, you seem like the guest because you're sitting on the couch. But it was like, right? Can we get our guest to like take off their shirt? Like, what would it take to make that happen?
You throw $5 at me right now, I'll start going piece by piece. We'll play a little poker. No, I'm just kidding.
It was just a funny idea. They can't know that you're trying to be like, where's that tattoo?
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
You just keep working it until they're like, fine, I'll just show you. And you're like, yes, we win.
It's funny because the night's on my outer arm, and on my inner arm, there's a shield with my last name in it. But it's funny because there's so many disc golf logos out there that involve a shield. And so I was like, all right, as much as I love shields, I think they're sick. I literally have one tattooed on me. I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with the knight. We're going to make something cool out of it. So it's kind of like the front, face mask of the knight has my initials in it. And then I've got my ribs done. I plan on finishing up kind of my, upper body that if I'm wearing a short sleeve, you can see the bottom of it. But I do love tattoos. I think they're great. Yeah. Once you get one, it's tough to not get anymore. It's like having a good beer. Once you have one, you can't just have that one.
I don't know. I had 3, but it was half. It was quarter or whatever. I had the equivalent of a beer.
Someone goes, "Good day, Sir Nicholas." If I could find out how to get knighted in the world, that'd be sick. So it's funny. That just brings me to a super off-topic point. My brother has his PhD in chemistry, and apparently, if you get your PhD in Finland, they present to you with your diploma a top hat and a sword. And I think swords are badass.
Well,
and
Nick,
so I was like,
sounds like you need a PhD.
Not going back to school. I will. That would take me so long. But at the same time, I always told my brother, I'm like, why don't you just go get your PhD, in freaking Finland? One that would have been sick. And then, 2, you would have walked away with a top hat and a sword. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to make my own sword. He literally made a sword at our house.
I also feel like I'm a little bit bummed now that you re-signed with Discraft, because I feel like you'd be a good fit for West Side. You could throw the sword, the sword. You could have the fortress.
So I know, right? It's kind of funny because if I was to name discs, it would totally be on the line of that. But when I first started playing, I went to Pyramids today, Marshall Street, to go check out their pro shop again, say hi to everyone. And it's funny enough because Pyramids was where I first learned how to play disc golf. Matt brought me there. That was the first course I think I ever played. And the sword was by far my favorite disc. As a new amateur, that was the only disc that I could get to flip over and actually get really good distance. And my favorite ones, they were this black disc with a gold stamp. And I remember I lost 2 of them in the same night because it was just getting dark at leagues, but I needed to throw a distance driver, and I lost them both under the leaves. But I think I've had probably 7 or 8 swords. I have none of them left.
You want to hear a quick sad story?
Yeah.
I picked up a hatchet, actually, speaking of West Side, at Pyramids one day. Didn't really I threw it once and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I threw it on, I'm going to forget whole numbers, maybe 11 or 12, like the really uphill one that gets into the open.
11.
Yeah. Right when you kind of start seeing the airport, and just nicked a tree
12,
and went
12.
flying to that left side and just all the way down that hill. Didn't even write my name on it. Literally bought it that day.
Yep.
And it was gone.
It's like, all right, goodbye.
Horrible. So there's a lot going on, even though a lot's not going on.
See, everyone's telling me I got to go buy some land in Scotland. You guys are talking about my dream. They go own some land and you become a lord or a lady. Imagine that, Lord Carl. See, funny thing is, back in the day, they used to have King Henry the 13th or the 4th or the 5th or whatever. They always did like the 3rds, the 4ths, the 5ths, the 6th. Honest to goodness. And I'm sorry for my girlfriend now or whoever I marry and whenever I have kids in the future, but I 100% want a Nick Jr. And then I want him to name his kid Nicholas John so that I have Nicholas John Carl III. I want to be the first. And then I literally want to be like chilling in the afterlife, just watching over my family heritage or my family line and just seeing I
want to be,
however
first.
Many years to see Nicholas John Carl the 13th. Imagine, I just think that's so cool. So
that's funny.
But I want a junior, not gonna lie. I mean,
all right. So you know how all these pros are buying up courses. I mean, Macbeth's got his course. You got LaVisca. Everyone else seems like they're interested in that. I think you got to buy land in Scotland, become a knight or whatever title lord you can get, and then pop off the disc golf scene there.
Here we go. This is what we're gonna do.
Have a castle on your course.
Yeah. What date is today? What is today's date? Today's the 6th. Write it down. 12/6/21. Nicholas Carl is going to buy some land, buy a freaking castle in Scotland with 50 acres on it. I'm going to be a lord. And then I'm going to ask the Paul Macbeth Foundation. I'm going to donate the money to build a gold level course. And we're literally going to bring a sick disc golf course to Scotland. Not going to lie, though. Actually, one of my dreams with the Paul Macbeth Foundation, I would like to do this in the next 3 to 5 years, is I want to pay for their Gold Lover membership to install a course and be one of the people who actually gets to go out and help out with that. I want to do that in Japan. One of my all-time favorite places that I want to visit. I've looked up so many pictures, travel vlogs, and everything like that. Japan is one of those places.
You're going to do the Japan Open? It was going to happen.
That was going to happen.
Yeah.
With all the travel restrictions right now, I'm not going to risk anything. Just in the slight chance of, some of my friends go out of country and then all of a sudden there's a new variant. And, there's been cases in 17 different states now with the Omicron variant. And I'm just like, there's too much risk right now to do international, even slight traveling. I get that, but a lot of risk international traveling, just, besides for the health and safety aspect of that, but, getting stranded somewhere.
Well, did you bring your negative test tonight, or you're not leaving if you didn't?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably seven of them in my car right now.
Sleeping in the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes them up. No, he just collects them now.
Yeah.
All right. So it's 7:37 and we need to bring in our guests. So I'm going to work on that here. And as part of this topic, Nick, Spotify does this thing where they show you like which podcasts you've listened to the most. And how cool was it this past week to see that some people actually listened to the Nick and Matt show, like a significant amount, where it was like number one. I'm like, nah, there's something wrong here.
I know.
So like, what did you think about that?
It was a very humbling feeling. I actually tweeted about it and just saying, how, grateful I am for it, obviously. And then how blessed I feel to be able to, even just on Monday nights, be able to hang out with the few hundred people that are watching us live, commenting, chatting with us, and then hanging out with Evan and Matt in studio. It's a pretty awesome feeling. Just this little idea that Matt and I had over a year and a half ago at this point. We've done 69. We're on the 69th episode, which is pretty cool. We'll be on 70 episodes next week. And, it's cool when people say like, hey, I love watching your podcast. I love listening to your podcast. It was the number one podcast that I listened to. And Joe Rogan has an incredible podcast. I love listening to it. A lot of people listen to a realty podcast about investing in realty. And, disc golf, there's obviously a ton of great podcasts right now in disc golf, and just on the Foundation Podcast Network, there's 3 of them, and it's a pretty awesome feeling, even being in people's top 5, even just any new person listening to our podcast. It's a great feeling.
Okay, before we transition to our guest, and I agree, Nick, I was the one who brought that topic up because I thought it was cool you finished it. I'm super humbled, as you said. It's really interesting is the word I'll put to it, because when we started this, I can remember back still, Nick, to episode 1 where we're like, hey, it'd be pretty cool if like 20 people listened to this podcast.
Yeah, I think the first night, because we had Simon and Terry on, I think we had like 55 live viewers.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's up? And then the first time we hit 100, and then we've hit, 500 or 600, 700. And I still,
dude, there was a time, I know it was a big episode.
The week after Worlds, the week after Worlds,
2,000.
we hit almost 2,000. It was 1,900 live viewers for the Paul Macbeth episode after Worlds, and it's still by far one of my favorite episodes that we've done. And just feeling like, hey, this incredible thing just happened at Worlds. You're the guy who lost. What do you think about it? And then it's like we get to have this great episode about it. So yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Very cool.
And I'm just kidding.
Getting through this off season, there's no way around it though. Getting through the off season, people are sending us ideas for content. We do appreciate that. It's not that we don't have ideas. It's that honestly, Nick and I get a little bit of downtime and like we're enjoying our off season a little bit too. And it's kind of like, how much can you talk disc golf? You got to make up great topics. And we could talk for 24 hours straight every week about disc golf and just get old. I mean, 2 hours is enough as is, but so anyways, thank you very much for listening and sharing and tagging with us. We appreciate that support greatly. So I have our guest here lined up. He is free to chime in whenever he wants. His name's Wes Shinovar. Is that how you say your last name, by the way?
Yeah, Shinevar, you got it.
All right, good. Wes Shinovar, welcome to the show. We just kind of thought you could be another voice to add to the conversation. So now we've got four voices and opinions. So welcome. And what do you think so far about the off season?
first off, I think that you have a great idea brewing with 24 hours of content.
That's not an idea.
Well,
That was a bad idea.
We'll stream it live on YouTube, like YouTube games.
we'll bring
stuff
a
like
guest.
that.
It'll
Yeah.
be a charity stream. I love it. It's got so much. It's got so much potential right there. But yeah, so the off season, I know you mentioned, is kind of a downtime for you. This is usually when I'm the most busy, personally, with underground stuff and doing player reviews and app reviews and just all over the place, looking ahead at the 2022 season. So it's kind of funny, especially for a lot of players, the off season's kind of a downtime, time to work on stuff. And then for other people, it's the busy time of year where we aren't necessarily playing but working on other stuff. But yeah, in terms of the pro scene, I feel like it's been pretty quiet so far.
Just okay. And to be clear, and I don't have to give this disclaimer, but nobody ever has to divulge anything. But at the same
Sure.
time, I think Nick knows stuff. I'm pretty sure I know stuff. Evan comes and sits in here before the show and says what he's heard. And then I think to myself, Wes is out there in the world of disc golf. Wes, you don't have to divulge unless you want to, but have you heard anything as well?
I'm probably in the same boat as both of you guys. There's a lot of rumors swirling that this could be a really hot off season. Certainly one to remember, one for the books, relative to the last couple that have been pretty quiet. Through COVID times, everything was a little disrupted. Players were very happy to stay with their sponsors. They weren't necessarily out shopping because there was just a lot of uncertainty with disc golf and with the world. So I feel like the last couple of off seasons here have been really quiet, and of course I can't divulge anything, but I think that this one's gonna heat up at some point here this month, I imagine.
Okay. Oh, this month.
I would say January is really when we kind of get to figure everything out, I would say, because their contracts are finally up at the end of that. And January, it's funny because we were talking about the little bit of pettiness between Prodigy and West Side with the Orem thing, and we don't even know if it's pettiness, but it is cool to see those off-season changes. But I think January is when we're really going to get hit with, hey, new year, new company.
Okay, so I was just kind of like feeding stuff out there, but I'm like, if what I feel like I know is becoming speculation and rumor, I feel like I should be free to talk about it because I'm not saying I actually know anything. So like, I feel like I want to take the topic here. And everyone's looking at me in the room like, Matt, where are you going with this? So I want to take the topic here. I'm not going to be the one to break any news, but I am going to have conversations because I'm not going to handcuff our show to not be able to talk about the topics because we know something. Now, you're going to have to, it's going to drive people crazy because they'll be like, does he actually know? And he's just talking about like, doesn't know, but like, so here's where I'm starting. I'm literally pulled up UDisc world rankings. Okay. And I went to the #1 ranked player in the world right now, according to UDisc world rankings. And I'm going to start there. And I'm literally going to say, is there any chance at all? And I'm talking like in your mind, you're like, no or yes, that this player could being the key word here, move along. And I know people feel like they know things. So when we get through the top 10 here, there might be players that are moving. And I feel comfortable saying that because all I've been hearing is that it's going to be a blockbuster offseason. So my brain goes, okay, top 10 player. And I'm taking Paul McBeth out of the conversation because that one to me is a no.
Good thing to do.
Because I think it's obvious. He signed a $10 million contract. Like that would be detrimental. If it happens, I will start eating my hat like piece by piece on the show. That's probably boring.
Are you saying he goes through his whole 10-year deal? Because I'll argue that he might not see the end of it, but like 8 years down the road.
Yeah, I'm not talking now.
Okay.
So here's where I'm going. You ready? Ricky Wysocki, #1 ranked player in the world. What does he have left? Do we know on his contract? People are like, you should know. I think he's got a year or two left.
I think he signed a 3-year contract, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he does have 2 years left on it, which at that point, I would kind of say he's pretty set in stone with Innova currently.
Okay, but didn't Paul McBeth have a contract? And that was going to be epic as well. The reason I'm bringing up Ricky.
What do you mean?
When Paul left Innova. That was going to be blockbuster too.
Well, I think he was in his free agency year. Like I don't
Okay.
think he left
Okay.
mid.
Page Pierce leaving Dynamic Disc.
Yeah, So
I'm
that's-
just
that's
bringing
one of the
up
big
that
things.
it happens.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
here's
yeah.
why I'm bringing him up. There's another show that is on this channel that I'm hearing rumors about. I didn't listen this week. That people are listening to Grip Locked, and they're saying that they're speculating that Ricky is trying to move along. And if they're talking about speculation, and I'm hearing big rumors out there, now Nick and Matt show is contributing to the rumors. But we are not going to say we have heard anything. We're just going to say, what would it be? And how would that shake things up if Ricky Wysocki left not Discraft? Uh-oh.
Imagine.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Now people are like, Matt just said something. No, listen, seriously, I don't know anything. All right. So what happens if Ricky left Innova? How does that shake things up? Go ahead, Wes.
I think it's a super interesting conversation because you look at the deal that Paul has, and Ricky being the number one player in the world, we can say with those rankings, Ricky is technically ranked higher than Paul. And I don't know what the details are of Ricky's Innova contract, but we basically know the premise of Paul's contract. And, Rick, in my mind, as a fan of disc golf, is not super far off of what Paul is. Obviously, he doesn't have the world titles. Paul's doing bigger things outside of disc golf with his foundation now and becoming, not just a name in Finland and in the US, but really worldwide. But Ricky, to me, is probably the next guy on that list. And so it makes sense to me that Ricky should have a contract that is somewhat comparable to Paul's. And if his contract with Innova isn't that, I could definitely see another company, if they wanted him bad enough, throwing a contract out there that might be enticing enough to pull Ricky away, where he gets his potentially own line of discs, similar pay, all of that. I mean, I could see it.
So as a follow-up to that, and I know Nick's ready to chime in here, and I want to give him that opportunity as a follow-up to that. He was on our show this year, and we actually were asking him the question about, does he think he's getting what he's worth? How is he going to go about getting more? And he kept being like, oh yeah, like I know. Unless Innova, and we don't know this because he hasn't said anything and Innova hasn't said anything, unless they're doing that, you have to believe that Ricky feels undervalued. This is my take on it. Like, you have to believe he feels undervalued after Paul comes out and announces what he did, and Ricky going, come on, I'm playing as good, and I feel like my brand is on its way to that same place. Mm-hmm. Like, Nick, do you think he feels undervalued if you had to guess?
Yeah. And I've been around the pro scene for a little while now. I've gotten to know a lot of people. I've had conversations with a lot of people about it. And, this is kind of a little shade at Innova. I'm not really trying to make it sound like that. But from what I heard, a decent amount of people are unhappy with how their pro scene is kind of treated player-wise. I think that Discraft was massive. And what they did for Paul's first deal with the $250,000 a year guaranteed, that was easily the biggest contract in disc golf. And then shooting it up to the $1 million a year guaranteed. That was massive for disc golf and Discraft in general. They saw worth in both parties of it to where, like, you know what, we got to spend money to make money. And that was huge. I think a couple other companies are finally getting into that where it's like, if we invest the right proper amount into a player, we can far exceed our expectations with that. And I think Discraft felt that way with Paul. That's why 2 years into his contract, they were like, hey, this is too small. Like, we need to work on this. We got to renegotiate this. I think that there are companies still right now, though, that aren't finding worth in their players. Or I should say their players aren't being treated as well as they should be. Like Wes was just saying earlier, Ricky is, he's been a top 3 player in the world for since 2012, 2011. I mean, he has 2 world titles. He's been close at USCGC. He's been close at other worlds. And he has a ton of other tournament wins. He had a great elite year this year on the Elite Series side of things. He's got a very popular name in disc golf. Other players like Eagle, Simon, incredible names in disc golf. Ricky also pushes a lot of his own plastic around. And so he has a great fan base. It's funny. Ricky has like a cult following to where, honestly, if you're watching Ricky and Paul battle it out at the end of a round, Ricky will get more cheers than Paul does. And so that's, I think, what's kind of incredible is you have arguably the best player of all time versus arguably the best player this year. It's, it's crazy. Ricky has a massive fan base. Could I see him leaving his contract early? legality wise, if you can make it work out, why not? If some company is going to offer you more and they see more worth in it, why not? But then at the same time, who knows? Maybe Innova sees all this stuff going on and they say, you know what? Yeah, we are going to offer you $600,000 a year. You're not quite at that $1 million a year yet, but you're getting close to it. So it's kind of like, you know, if Ricky is unhappy where he's at, he goes up to Innova and says, hey, things need to change. We need to renegotiate some stuff. If Innova says, no, absolutely not. I mean, Ricky has every right to start shopping around. If you can make it work to where, like I said, legally you can get out of your contract, you know, at that point, if he leaves mid-contract, it'll burn bridges with Innova to where you'll never see Ricky throw a pig again. You know what I mean? And I think that's
well. Did Paul? Now this is getting a little off topic, but Paul kind of did a little bit too. Not as it wouldn't be maybe as epic in that sense, but like it was a big change.
Yeah.
Evan,
I want to bring this to a different kind of area of thinking. I want people, everyone in chat and fans of watching this in your car when you stop driving, do some snooping. I want you to check out manufacturers and the players on all social medias and check out who they're following and what they're liking. Because I will say there is one manufacturer that has liked a few of Ricky's posts lately, and I don't know if that's consistent.
DD? I'm just guessing. I have no idea, actually. I haven't looked, but is that who it is?
Yeah, I've seen multiple likes by Dynamic Disc on Ricky's post, which doesn't say anything in its own. Dynamic Disc could just be liking all players, just trying
I
to
like Ricky's post too.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I will say, DD has liked a couple of my posts. You know, no shame in that.
So,
hold on,
I've disapproves everything I've said.
Yeah.
That's why I'm phrasing this as a ask for people to do.
But
because if Dynamic Disc is liking specific people, they might be liking Nick just because he's on podcasts and vlogs. And because they want you to be in their brain. That sounds kind of like taking over, but I'm just saying
the rumors we've heard. I feel like that's why I said DD. That's the rumors I'm hearing.
I've noticed it a few times, so I'm curious if they're liking other players' posts, but they're not if they don't like any Paul Macbeth posts, but they're liking Ricky, they're liking Calvin, they're liking Adam Hammes, they're liking Chris Dickerson, they're liking all these other top players because they're trying to get all of them, but they know they can't get Paul. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about that is actually someone messaged me, DM'd me last week after we were talking about, young guns out in the world, the Cole Redolans, the Gannon Burrs. And someone said, hey, I just listened to your podcast and I think Gannon Burr might be going to Discmania. He bought a tilt off of a disc golf page a few weeks ago. So something even as simple as that.
Well, we said that last week or 2 weeks ago. We did talk about this a little bit. I think we said that.
Yeah, because you said he was dumping out kind of his Prodigy collection.
He was getting rid of it.
And then same thing, he goes and buys a Discmania disc,
Yeah, he's gone.
Tilts aren't in circulation right now to where you can't just go to Marshall Street and go get a tilt. So buying it online,
Who actually bags a tilt? Anyways.
Simon does. I've seen it.
I think Wes has a tilt.
Eagle does.
All right.
Yeah, to your point though, I think it's interesting because when you get into the off season, really as soon as November 1st hits, I start reading in between the lines myself because the off seasons in the past have just been so hot, and there's almost a little crumb trail through the off season sometimes where, hey, you see a guy is kind of selling some stuff that maybe that he bags or collects, and you see him on another page picking stuff up. I think most of the top pros are probably pretty savvy now where they have somebody else picking up stuff for them. But, to that same end, hey, I saw a guy who was good friends with Gannon Burr picking up a couple of discs, and maybe they're for Gannon. So I certainly find myself reading in between the lines. No, I didn't see that, but just as an example.
What else did you see?
It's funny because when Evan was saying, do a little snooping around, it just reminds me of people in high school where a dude's dating a girl, they break up, and then this new girl comes in, and then all the ex-girlfriends, they're just like, oh, we're going to find out every single thing about her. And then they stalk the Instagram pages, everything, and they find out literally, it's kind of mind-blowing how good some people are at being detectives on social media. Kind of insane.
So I'll hire Evan for next week.
But I think that's a mark on how I don't want to say mature, but just how big your fan base is. College football, it's a huge thing on flight trackers. You're tracking all these small towns where colleges are. Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma, their coach just got picked up by USC. So people are Norman, Oklahoma, are there any flights to Los Angeles? And it's a whole big thing to track that. And they're getting every little detail. They're tracking all these private planes going everywhere. And it's just a whole rabid fan base going after that. I'm just saying disc golf fans, Like if you're camping out at MVP's warehouse and you're just like, hey, I saw James Conrad's van. Like
Yep.
that stuff is good.
I do remember that one last year when someone posted that.
If you see Eric Oakley at your course, run up to him and you know, be nice, but like look at what's in his bag.
And
like, wow, multiple manufacturers in there. He must be going to Infinite.
And Evan, you and I were having this conversation last week off air. The idea that like if people know and they want it to get out there, like it's good for their brand if it starts being speculated. So like if Ricky wants to reach out to us and say like, it's true, guys, like the rumors that are circulating are true. I'm not telling you on the record, but like tell people you hear this is going to happen. Like that is not bad for his brand. I don't think it's bad at all, because if it doesn't happen, people are like talking Ricky. And like found out, ooh, then something else is happening. He likes Innova still. And if it does happen, it's like it was all ramped up in a big deal. So like it started happening, circulating around Paul when Paul changed and left. Like it was starting to be talked about months in advance, but nobody ever was confirming.
That's a really good example because, you know, Discraft's evolved a whole lot since they picked up Paul. When I first heard the Paul rumors, I was like, what, really? Like I wasn't too sure about it. Didn't make sense. He seemed like such a good fit with Innova.
Dude, I was mind blown by it.
Yeah. But now that we're in what, year 3 or 4, I don't even know how long it's been. You're just like, oh yeah, Paul McBeth and Discraft makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. So when those leaks started happening, it was in my brain. And after like the 3rd or 4th time I heard it, I'm like, okay, this might be real. And then when the news broke, you're just like, oh yeah, like I've heard that already. It makes perfect sense.
So as we've kind of like speculated the rumors with Ricky,
I was just gonna say I've got some other topics.
Yeah, well, one of the you know, because I've heard speculation of it, and you know, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, all right, who's a good fit for Ricky? Well, who did Ricky win his 2 world titles with?
This is exactly
Latitude 64, because he won both world titles with them. He was the filthiest putter in the world when he was putting with daggers. I gotta say that he was filthy with daggers, but at the same time, Latitude also doesn't have that top tier guy right now. They have they have Kristen Tatar. They're killing it on the FPO side. I'm super pumped for what Kristen did with her contract and everything, like, because what they say was guaranteed over $500,000 over the 4 years or something like that.
No, 5. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. So 500. Yeah.
100 million.
And so yeah, imagine. Anyway, so but Latitude on the MPO side doesn't have that massive. Johnny doesn't, you know, go out to every single event right now. Emerson is hit or miss, whether, you know, he's playing well or not at an event. So,
I think, you know, I thought last season, really the Trilogy brand as a whole kind of lacked that that big top finisher. Obviously, they have Nico. Yeah. I feel like Nico gets forgotten about quite a bit. I know I even forget about him a little bit when I talk about Trilogy, just because he was you know, without a manufacturer for so long. But yeah, the Trilogy brand between, you know, Latitude, Westside, and Dynamic really feels like they need some firepower, especially on the MPO side. So I really expected last offseason to be the offseason where the Trilogy brand went out and got a big name and spent the kind of money that they needed to spend to, you know, bring somebody in like that. But I think maybe they weren't quite ready. And we kind of saw this with Discraft before they got Paul. You know, they had Nate Doss and a lot of really good players, but they didn't necessarily have the best player in the world or a top 3 player in the world. Although Nate was obviously for a lot of years, but
yeah, but like a consistently high finisher, top 5 player, they didn't have for a while.
And so, you know, I think I almost feel like the last 2 years, DD and really the Trilogy brand has kind of reloaded, fixed some of the issues that players felt like they had with them. They invested in the guys they felt like they wanted to invest in for a couple of years. And so I really thought last year they were going to go out and spend big and get that big name, but yeah, maybe it's this offseason.
Right.
We've seen the explosion that's happened in disc golf, and like Matt was saying earlier, companies were probably a little bit worried about, okay, you know, players were worried about if there was even going to be a tour this year, depending on, you know, COVID status. And so companies were probably in that same boat to where it's like, you know what, let's ride this year out. Couple names switched around here and there. Nothing too massive. But you can see Paul's contract is working. You can see, I mean, Nico had an Elite Series win this year. So contracts, you know, players are doing well for themselves. Now I think companies are finally getting into that more, you know, we got to spend money to make money. If Dynamic picks up Ricky, let's just say that happens, or any of the Trilogy teams pick up Ricky, that is massive for their company. Because like I said earlier, Ricky's got a cult following. People want to throw the discs that Ricky is throwing. So any brand would be lucky to pick him up as a player, competitiveness wise, and also fan base wise.
Okay. I agree. I didn't land on Ricky. I didn't land on Ricky for no reason. Number one, he was listed number one. Number two, I've been hearing rumors. Number three, I thought it was an interesting conversation just to have because, as I said, at the Nick and Matt show, we don't want to handcuff ourselves because we have inside scoops, so we can't talk about anything because then it's like we're just sitting here, we're like, I don't know. And it's like, well, no, we got to talk. So we're talking about it all. I skipped over Paul Macbeth as number two because we already said why. Number three is Eagle McMahon. I am not hearing rumors about Eagle McMahon. I'm hearing confirmation through Simon publicly that like Eagle made the right choice last year and Eagle made a big choice. And like, you're not going to back to back year, like change. That would be just be really burning bridges. I think the way Discmania set up their whole new infrastructure, when it comes to a company themselves, they are, their own now. They're not relying on Innova to make their plastic anymore. That's huge for players like Simon and Eagle. Yeah.
I think Eagle's the only other person on this list besides Paul Macbeth.
Solidified.
Who I think solidified besides players who have already announced. I think every other player from here till 180, whatever that UDisc has, is a possibility.
So let's do this.
Not me. I'm like 114th. I'm solidified Discraft. So take that one.
Well, you just announced you resigned.
Yeah,
so.
I did. Good point.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then let's do this kind of. This is off season. The next then, if we skipped Paul and Eagle in world disc rankings, is Chris Dickerson. Now, I'm going to be very honest. Besides the fact that we're having this conversation and nothing is off limits, I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if Chris Dickerson leaves. Now, that being said, I would be surprised if Ricky left too. The only difference is I'm hearing a little bit of rumors there. The same thing could be happening for Chris Dickerson. Is he undervalued? He is an excellent player. Is he undervalued? Does he feel that way? Are people shopping for him right now?
I think people are definitely shopping for him. It's kind of tough to, because Chris has won it was the 2020 USCGC, right?
Maybe.
2020 USCGC.
I think so.
The pandemic confuses me.
2020 USCGC, and then this past year 2021 GMC. Multiple probably top 5 finishes. Great consistent player. Easily has every single skill set in his arsenal to be a consistent top 5 player. Chris Dickerson is someone that we do not see travel much out to the West Coast generally.
Because and here's the crazy part, because it doesn't make financial sense.
Exactly.
And
so
I'm like mind blown.
Yeah.
I am mind blown. How is that a thing?
Give him a company. Give him a company that actually financially wants to support him and make sure that he does get to every single one of those events every single year.
Yes.
Now you see Chris Dickerson, because Chris Dickerson, one, he throws.
He's not making enough.
Two, he's accurate. Exactly. So yeah, I could say, when he came, or when we've heard that because he came on the show and I think he said financially it's just not in the cards right now to go out to a West Coast event, even getting a top 6, 7, 8th place. He's still losing money going out to California.
Well, Simon even says that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of those players, but at the same time, I mean, Simon's different. Simon flies out to the event, gets an Airbnb or hotel, rents a car. You're talking about players right now in disc golf where a majority of them are living that van life. There aren't too many of them who are flying out to those events.
You've changed my mind, Nick. Chris Dickerson's leaving.
I think Chris Dickerson. It's not even that. It's not even that. But at the same time, if Chris Dickerson comes out and says, "Hey, guaranteed $250,000 a year from Prodigy, woohoo, and an RV," then boom, he's out on the road. He goes to every single event.
I think Chris Dickerson kind of reminds me of James Conrad before his move to MVP. Really good player, has a major win. He won with Innova, right? Not MVP. Yeah. But just not an outgoing guy, not a super social media kind of guy, but just killer player.
And generally seeming to be, I don't want to say married, but likes the brand he's playing for. Just like James liked his discs.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't see any major reason beyond maybe being undervalued. And I kind of feel like that's what I'm saying. I'm getting swayed a little bit.
So I would initially say I don't feel like Chris would move, but it just feels like such a similar scenario that James, that I felt that same way then that I do now. I'm mixing up all my words, but
Wes, I think you were trying to chime in. Maybe not.
Yeah. Prodigy is a major brand. They're obviously a major manufacturer, and Chris Dickerson is easily their best player. They have KJ USA, who's a tremendous talent, but hasn't won the same big tournaments that Chris has won. So in my mind, Prodigy really has to keep Chris. And so when I think of it that way, whatever Chris feels like he needs to be valued at, I feel like Prodigy, I don't want to say has to give him, but is probably going to be willing to give him to keep him around. Because if Chris leaves, they have KJ, and who knows, they could be shopping around. We mentioned, maybe Ricky's on the move. Maybe they're looking to pick up Ricky and move on from Chris kind of thing. But in my mind, if Prodigy isn't picking up another top 5, top 6 player, they really need to keep Chris. So for me, it feels like Chris will probably stay based on that, unless they're really going all in with KJ USA and think he's going to be that top 5 player.
You also got to think of these companies where Matteo left, and Matteo towards the end of the season was playing incredible. What's UDisc have him at in the rankings? What, 9th or something like that?
Matteo.
He's a top 10 player in the UDisc.
He's so high I can't even find him. I'm too low. No, exactly. Matteo is 8th.
8th. Okay, so
8th.
You lose your 8th place player, who at the end of the season, Matteo was a consistent name that we talked about almost every single week on the show. That player now leaves. Okay, now let's say, whether it's Kevin Jones or Chris Dickerson, whether they leave, you just lost another primetime player.
So let me ask this, because this was actually in the notes to talk about, but we're kind of just organically coming here. I do want to talk about some of these other players, but in my notes, the question that I thought of just randomly this week was, why do companies, and this is, I'm not like literally sitting here like, why does this happen? It's more like a topic, guys. Why do companies let their disc golf athletes leave? So meaning somebody's having to pay for that player. My short answer is the company that isn't paying up, I don't know why they don't, because if that player is worth it, they're trying to get a bargain, and every company's different. Innova being different than Discraft, being different than Prodigy, but generally speaking, players leave because they can go get paid somewhere else, like more. But why does that company think that like that player's not valued at that? Or is it that they can't spend that? Like,
I mean, 7 years ago in the disc golf world, players were not making the amount of money that they're making right now. We're talking 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, when Paul had this streak of worlds. He had signed a big contract, like $120,000 or $150,000 guaranteed with Innova. And that was massive. No one else was living that kind of contract money-wise. Disc golf has tremendously grown. I mean, what, PDGA number 198 was just given out today, 198,000, like 241 or something like that. Someone posted on Twitter, but like, we're talking, there's almost 200,000 PDGA numbers sold. UDisc has what, over like 1 million users or something like that. Like, so many people aren't even PDGA, whatever you call it. They're not even with the PDGA that are out there playing disc golf. They are still buying those discs that the players have. A majority of them probably know about the pro scene now. Disc golf is at a point to where money is now, a lot of money is being brought into it. But at the same time, you have to be a marketable player. Chris Dickerson, incredible guy. But like Evan was saying earlier, on the social media standpoint of things, he's not as out there as the Rickies are. What Paul is doing with his life in disc golf right now, Simon is doing with his, like, he's not as marketable. And so do you sell as many, let's say,
was Tom Brady good in social media?
Yeah, but at the same time, you're talking about, that's different. You could be the worst social media guy, but if you have 6 Super Bowl rings, doesn't matter. You're probably still well known, and you're considered one of the greatest players. Like,
and I'm bringing this up because a chat person commented this.
But Tom Brady has the TB12 Foundation, the TB12 sports complexes.
If the sport was bigger, I guess is my point. If the sport was bigger, and it's not, you wouldn't have to market yourself as a social media guy. But like where we're at, I do think it's important. So it's a good point. But like, if you are good, then you don't need that. But real quick, I want to go back to Wes's point here about being Prodigy's like go-to guy. Like they would be crazy. Yeah, they'd be crazy to let him go, to where, this is my point, why would they? It would literally come down to like, we can't afford you, or we do not think you're that good. And honestly, we're all sitting here in this room and on the video chat right now saying they would be crazy. So I don't know.
I think the answer is they can't, because you look at Paul's deal, and Innova obviously produces a lot of discs. I don't know what the manufacturer numbers are, Innova versus Discraft, but from the outside, as somebody who doesn't really know those numbers, it seems to me that Innova could have given Paul 10 years, 10 million, and his own line of discs. I don't see any reason specifically why they couldn't have manufactured his line of discs for him, which then generates that money to pay him something, like 10 years, 10 million. So I think it's a mix of manufacturer capabilities and, probably just business decisions. I think is really what it comes down to. Sorry, we don't feel like you have earned or deserve 5 of your own molds and $1 million a year, even though we could potentially do it. But from a business standpoint, maybe they felt like it was too much risk to kind of give that power to the player.
And that's a great point. We'll kind of conclude the topic of Chris Dickerson. I think it comes down to
Big
one
potential,
brand.
I'd say, honestly. If he's
One brand
yeah,
sees the value and is like, we will do that.
Yeah.
Another brand is like, we don't. And that's just how sports are. It's a business decision.
Yeah, this is where I wish contracts were a little bit more available to literally go up and look and be like, oh, it's not even what we're talking about right now. He still has 2 more years or 5 more years or 4 more years on his contract. Not even worth mentioning.
But contracts aren't going to be that way. Even in disc golf, I saw someone comment here earlier. They're like, I want to see 1-year opt-outs for any length of any contract. Always have the 1 year every
a lot
year
of
opt-out.
a lot of NBA teams are doing that, to where
Right.
it's like you sign, even sometimes as small as a 10-day contract.
Wow.
Or,
Wow.
it's a chance to prove yourself. Can you make it on the team? Do you jive with the chemistry and everything like that? Disc golf is not a team player sport, so there's a difference to it. But yeah, I think 1-year opt-out contracts could potentially be a thing. Do you see success? Do you see the investment working in a positive way with that player? I mean, at the same time, though, I don't think it'd be the smartest thing. If I was to switch to a different company, I'd at least want to give it a year. If I have to sacrifice a year, it's What do you say?
Don't do it, Nick.
I won't. I just re-signed today. We're good. But no, it's just more like I kind of wish, one, like when I'm watching the NBA offseason or football offseason, you have all these different agents who like, oh, sources tell me that Tom Brady went down to Florida to go look at houses and met with the Buccaneers, whatever. Like, you have those things happening right now. Like, I wish there was almost like a disc golf gossip Twitter to where every company went to that guy and could legally say like, oh yeah, hey, we just had talks, make up some funny tweet like, oh, someone saw Dickerson in Michigan playing at the toboggan. What's going on there? Why would you play Michigan in December? You know what I mean? Like, I wish there was something like that. But that's also main moral of that story is I wish contracts were more available to the outside public.
Yeah.
To where
I think everybody does.
I could literally go on and say, whether I know exactly how much money they make, I would like kind of like a baseline of like, okay, this is potentially what they're making, but more so just to see how many years do they have left? What's going on with that? But who knows?
I want to say one thing when you're talking about opt-outs is in a lot of other sports, the opt-outs go both ways, but in different like capacities. Like you could have a player opt-out or you could have a team opt-out, which team would be the sponsor. So like Paul McBeth, when he's signing with Discraft, they don't want an opt-out. Like they're not going to opt out. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, Paul McBeth wasn't our investment.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But Paul might have an opt-out after, year 3 or 5 if Discraft isn't doing what he wants them to do. I don't know what the details of that part are, but if you have a kind of more of a risky player you're trying to go after, you might say, hey, like we're going to give you a 3-year deal, but after the second year or first year, it's an opt-out for the sponsor. Like we might just cut you at that point saying we don't want you. So opt-outs are just a one.
Yeah, I almost want to hear, sometimes more of that. Like if, let's just talk about Oakley. Big offseason switch, went from DD, who was a company that he's always talked about how much he loved, was a family to him, goes to Infinite. I honestly, I genuinely want to know, was DD like, hey man, we're cutting you. You're not cut out for it. You're not performing the way that we want you to perform. Boom, you're gone. That, you didn't uphold your end of the bargain. Or did Eric leave them willingly and say, I want to go pursue other ventures? You do hear teams like the Celtics, they cut Jabari Parker at the beginning of the season because he was not playing that well. They ended up re-signing him, which was kind of funny. But at the same time, like, that you know whether it was a player that left or the company that dropped them. And I think that's something like, let's hurt some feelings. I literally want to know, like, if I'm not performing next year and Discraft says, Nick, you are not cut out for this on our team, boom, you're gone. Like, I think people would rather hear that rather than
we'll talk about it on
rather
the show.
than me go lie on Instagram and say, oh, things were absolutely incredible. Things were so great with that company. If things were so great, why are you leaving then? Like,
Nick, we'll talk about it. We'll air it out. We'll exclusively have the interview on the Nick and Matt show.
I got one more point. The opt-outs, I don't think our contracts in disc golf are that evolved yet. And maybe we're getting to that point, but really until we saw Paul sign with Discraft, contracts were just like more or less a handshake agreement in disc golf. So it's not until the very recent future where we had like real player contracts and players were getting paid real money. So I don't think up until this point, 1-year opt-outs were even something that players had talked about or that manufacturers had thought about. But we might be going in that direction.
All right. We're almost done with this topic. We have Stat or Fiction lined up. We've got Judge That Disc Golfer lined up. We've still got a packed show. I did want to hit a few other names real quick just to throw them out there. For a while, have felt like Calvin Heimberg would be shopping around. Again, we're not talking length of contract left or anything right now. We're just literally talking like if someone just up and leaves, okay? And I feel like Calvin Heimberg is someone who I felt like that way for the past year. It could be this year. It could have been last year. I feel like he is someone that's probably undervalued. And that's funny coming from my mouth because I'm always saying how I'm just elbowing him. I'm just doing little jabs. Like, he's not going to win and he's not top 5. Obviously, I think the guy's great. But that's someone who I wouldn't be surprised. Adam Hammis, I would be pretty surprised. I'm just going through top 10 players if Adam Hammis was to move along, but he had an outstanding year. And maybe he'll capitalize on that. Maybe again, I think the changes come when the player feels undervalued according to their performance. That's usually when things happen. So maybe he's a candidate for that.
I was going to say, it's kind of funny because now Adam wins 2 Elite Series events, gets a couple great finishes throughout the year. He goes up to Discraft and says, hey, I just did that.
Exactly.
I want some more money. Discraft says, yeah, no, you're not at that point yet. You know what I mean? Like, that's where
we've already set your standard.
When you have a good year, it's almost like now you do want more money, and that also causes separation from company to player.
Right.
So, and then playing bad is obviously something that does the same thing, but playing well can be, in a sense, hurtful to your upcoming year potentially.
Your relationship with your manufacturer.
Yes,
okay.
100%.
Hold on to the live chat. Do not spoil the Patriots-Bills game. Do not.
I was literally going to tell them keep me updated on scores, but
no, I'm kidding.
okay.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm doing the whole spoiler thing. Like, it's live sports. You can't spoil it. But listen, never mind. We don't need to get into that. Do it. Spoil it for me.
I'm just waiting for post-round production to come out tomorrow so that I can watch. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I'll wait for
they don't do post-round production.
Okay. Anyways,
I'll literally be checking ESPN or if people are commenting in the chat.
We're almost there. Matthew Orm already left. Matty O. So that's out of the conversation. Nate Sexton, I would never. It's not going to happen. The Sexton Firebird is his life.
But what if someone offers him?
They'd have to offer millions. Yes, and
but
that's
what
not
if
where
they
the
could
sport
sell
is,
millions?
Really. Oh. I don't think so.
I don't think so
confident.
either.
Okay. And then Drew Gibson already did. So those are our top 10. If we looked at the borderline, Andrew Marweed, Kevin Jones, Joel Freeman, maybe, but those wouldn't be blockbusters. Okay. So that was where the conversation went. I would say out of those 3 or 4 names that were kind of big topics, Ricky, Chris Dickerson, who else do we say? I said maybe Calvin. We
didn't talk about Kyle Klein.
Here's the last one. I skipped it on purpose because Avery Jenkins made a post this week that said like excited big news coming, and he posted a picture of Kyle Klein. That's all I know.
Ooh.
That's all I know, but that's what he did. So
that's enough.
Nick, yeah, I know. So Nick, you're saying we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, we haven't talked. I mean, in the rumor mill, I mean, I think I've said this publicly to where if Kyle was someone that went to DD and became the top player, I think that could be very beneficial in his career. But at the same time, he did have a great year last year with Discmania. And if Discmania is to say, you know what, we have to add another Crush Boy into that top echelon. I mean, Kyle He's arguably, he played better than Simon last year. And one of the reasons I'm saying that is Simon did not get to tour, but guess who's not touring next year a lot? Simon. He's having a baby. So now you have Kyle and Eagle out at every single event. That's someone who you can push that publicity in now, and you can really try to brand them. Simon, arguably one of the most popular disc golfers in the world right now, will be taking some time off because he's having a kid. He's still, YouTubing it up. He's going to be picky and choosy on his events. He has been for the last few years now, especially with elbow rehab. But because of that almost potentially guided away in Kyle stepping up into that role of being one of the Crush Boys. So
yeah,
could go. It's literally 50-50 though.
I'm a big Kyle fan. He's from Michigan as well, so I've got to kind of see him come up the ranks the last couple of years from a young kid to, winning major events or elite events. I totally agree that with Simon kind of taking a step back, Discmania has always invested in top talent, and for the last decade or more, Simon has been that top talent, and now Eagle has kind of come and taken the throne for Discmania as the top talent. But yeah, Kyle Klein, I think it has to be one of the more interesting players going into this offseason, just because he's so young. He's already got a good resume for just touring for a couple of years here. Feels like he's been around for a lot longer than I think he has, just because he's been on the scene now for a couple of years. But I definitely think Discmania values their players. They've kept Simon as long as they have. They signed Eagle to the big deal. Leading to your Avery post, big news, Kyle Klein. I think that we probably see a pretty big deal for Kyle Klein, 4 or 5 years, 500,000, something to lock him in for a couple of years. He's a young guy. He's proven over the last 2 years he can stay consistent, get those good finishes. And I think if they sign Simon and Eagle to those bigger deals, those longer term deals, I think Kyle Klein's next up.
If they get Kyle, if they lock in Kyle Klein and they have Eagle and Simon, I honestly don't think Discmania needs to do anything else.
Yeah, they just have
until one of them leaves.
Yeah, that's almost, there's your 3 players on the elite team. And you got some touring guys out there also repping your brand. You got your ambassador team out there repping your brand. But when it comes to, do they need to pick anyone else throughout the year? No. If you have those 3 players, why would you? I mean, you could argue top 3 wise, put them up against any other top 3 manufacturer wise. Is Discmania one of the best? Simon, I've had the pleasure of playing many of rounds with. He's filthy good to this day. Eagle, arguably one of the best players in the world. Kyle had an incredible last year season. What other top 3 from a major manufacturer? Do you do Ricky, Calvin, Nate Sexton?
I was going to say Ricky, Calvin, and Matty O. Wink, wink.
Imagine. That's actually really funny. But yeah, something like that, though. I mean, you're talking 3 incredible players. That's a solid big 3. It's almost as good as the Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett big 3.
It'd be another great debate to have another night. Let's take the big 3 from every team and do a little bracket.
The Manufacturers Cup. I think that'd be sweet. Just a Manufacturers Cup. You take the top 3 men, the top 3 women from your teams. You set up a match play, stroke play bracket. You do alternate shot dubs, mixed dubs. There's so many cool things you do. It'd almost be like an all-star event.
I agree.
Yeah.
We've talked about Nick and Matt Show sponsoring it. We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Okay.
With that 6-figure payday.
So in conclusion, Ricky Wysocki is leaving. No, just go through Chris Dickerson, Calvin Heimberg. Doesn't sound like Kyle Klein is. Adam Ham, as I said, probably not. Nate Sexton. No. So then based off of our conversation, is hashing this all out on air, and I just went through those top 10 again. Ricky Wysocki, maybe. Chris Dickerson, maybe. Calvin Heimberg, maybe. So that's 3. I would dabble in Adam Hammis, but I don't have any, besides the fact that I said maybe he feels undervalued, maybe because he had an epic year. Besides that, I don't see any reason to think he would leave. So that's kind of where we're speculating. Nick, we need to do some thanks here. So you ready to do your debut?
Well, I was going to say, just right before we do the thanks, can we just quickly hit the FPO side? Yes or no?
Let's come back and do that.
You want to come back and do that?
Yeah, let's do that. It'll be sponsored by Manscaped.
Let's thank those who are help supporting the Nick and Matt Show.
All right.
Brace yourself. Winter is coming. What the writers of Game of Thrones did not know or did not want to tell you is that the reason Bran got crippled in that show was not because he fell out of a window or was pushed out of a window. It is because he did not use the Manscaped for his grooming needs. Cut himself, nicked himself, whatever you want to say it. Ended up not working out for him. Now, anyways, Manscaped coming out with some incredible holiday deals. Get 20% off with the code Nick and Matt. Matt, we've had some incredible stuff sent to us by Manscaped. My personal favorite, the cologne, the body wash now that actually smell exactly the same. But their Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker 2.0, two of their most incredible items. Join over the 2 million men worldwide who are doing it. It's perfect right now. 20% off. 20% off. Stocking stuffers. We're in the holiday season, Christmas time. Ladies, get your men a gift. Men, get your boys a gift. You know, help each other out. I might just get someone for Evan over there. Maybe he wants to trim up that beard a little bit. Bam, we got him 20% off.
He can have my used Lawnmower 4.0.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, so, if you use the code Nick and Matt, 20% off worldwide.
Okay.
Free shipping with
the
that.
Shampoo conditioner. We already talked about it last week and the week before and the week before. It's excellent. The shampoo is excellent. The Lawnmower 4.0, get it. It's going to be a great gift. The cologne, if you are a female lady or a man who just wants to get this for a man, it smells really great. I would say, Nick, the lip balm, not chapstick. I think it's lip balm, Manscaped. It's going to be great.
I'm a big fan of lip balm right now. And it's funny enough because I was actually working at my old job today. I was doing a little rock drilling, silica dust everywhere. My lips were very chapped at the end of the day. I totally could have used some Manscaped lip balm.
So the chats are pretty funny right now. Okay. So we'll just leave it at that. You got to join in the live when we're doing these reads. It makes it a whole bunch better. Thank you, Manscaped. Again, manscaped.com. Nick and Matt, 20% off. They're supporting disc golf. They're supporting us. If you support them, you support us, you support disc golf. There you go.
Go Nick and Matt, 20% off. Free shipping.
Okay. Nick, FPO, because we did focus on the MPO. Mm-hmm. We could do the same thing. I don't think besides like top 3 or 4 players, which is fine. It's like half of what we did for top 10. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be like blockbuster.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking Kona leaving Innova. That could be kind of a big deal. Just because she's like entrenched over there. But so, okay. Kristen Tatar, she just signed a deal. Mm-hmm. She's not going anywhere.
Yeah, she ain't going anywhere.
Evelina Salonen with Innova.
It's tough when we're talking. Is
she undervalued?
We're talking the European players. I don't know. I mean, she killed it. Her and Henna both killed it overseas this year. I'm curious. Does Innova, are they? It's tough.
She knows her price point now, and I'm pretty positive she feels like she should get more than Kristen.
Yeah.
Okay. I think she thinks she's
that's
better.
why I love contracts being publicly announced, is because now Henna and Evelina, who both have beaten Kristen this year in different tournaments across the pond, they're incredible players. We consider them top 5 players in the FPO division, sometimes number 1. When they eventually get the chance to come back to the States and compete against larger fields, maybe higher caliber fields, I think that is when they could really, I think next year, if they are able to travel over and play a majority of the Elite Series events, I think that is when they are really going to be determining their worth. Right now, though, I mean, we've seen Henna come over and kick butt at tournaments. We've seen Evelina come over and win tournaments here in the States. So speculation, I'll say this, potential. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'm with Nick. I think there's potential, and I see this. Both Henna and Evelina are super interesting names for this offseason. I think because they haven't got to come over to the U.S., with the COVID situation, and really prove their worth. But I think we all know it's there. I mean, they've still done tremendous things on the home turf. Like you said, they had beaten Kristen at different points throughout the year. I think she was really hitting her stride on another level when she was here in the U.S., though, that if she played like that when she played against him, she would probably have won. I think she is the number 1 FPO player in the world right now. But I think that there's an opportunity for other manufacturers to kind of see the value, similar to the Paul deal, where there's a lot more potential to do stuff with Henna and with Evelina, especially if you need a top name in the FPO field. And I can't come up with any manufacturers offhand, but any that need a top lady, I think either of those names, you could invest in their potential. And I think if they're able to come over to the U.S., play a full season, I think the value is definitely there.
But what if just because manufacturers are where it's at right now as far as sponsorships go, like what if a manufacturer's like, we're going to have like the top 4 women on our team? Like it would just be nasty. Now, some of the women are looking for a way to stand out though. And so that can be tough too. If you have a team behind you without another competitive woman or like an elite status FPO player, that can be tough. But continuing the conversation, Paige Pierce, she wouldn't. Here's the deal. It wouldn't surprise me. Let me put it this way. If Paige like decided just to move along, like just because of who Paige is, she's a strong, independent woman. Like that's just how she's operated. That's the vibe she gives off. She cares about people, but she's also like, hey, it's business. I'm just going to do what's best for me. So like, I wouldn't be surprised in that sense, but I don't see her moving along.
I'm going to say no because of the fierce and the passion, but
true.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you know, she's done incredibly well with Discraft since she has been there.
Right.
I mean, second place at Worlds.
Just bought a house.
Won the U.S. Women's, just bought a house. I mean,
yeah,
she's killing it. When it comes
I don't see her leaving.
In the sales of her discs, I mean, I for one, I bag a Fierce or not a Fierce right now, but I have a Glow Passion in my bag. Incredible fairway disc by them. And then my favorite forehanding disc is a Nuke. All ESP, all stamped with Paige Pierce's name on it. Absolutely insanely great forehanding disc for me. Backhands for people who can really, really bomb it, have the arm speed. So you put their name on the right disc, and it is going to
Paul
sell.
Had the Paul Macbeth Destroyer and the McPro, like he had the whole lineup.
Yeah, the AVR, the Destroyer all existed before Paul.
And I'm just saying.
The passion and the Pierce.
True.
Yeah.
It's a different deal. It's a different deal.
People want new discs. People want new discs.
Exactly.
I think that disc golfers always want to try new things, and I think that's why it was important for Paul to get his own line. I'm sure Paul could have sold the heck out of Forces or Nukes or whatever driver he chose, but by bringing in this new disc, slapping his name on it, I think it has a whole different aura among throwers and especially collectors. I got to imagine, you know, geez, I don't know, a third or half of the Zeuses that come out these days, people are stuffing in bags and throwing in their closet as collectors. So I think having that new mold brings a whole new just aura to the disc, even if it is super similar to another disc.
And one of the other things, you know, kind of marketability wise, Paige right now is a 5-time world champion. If you go out and buy all these 5-time world champion discs by Paige, look what happened when Paul wins worlds again, or when Paige wins worlds again. Now you come out with 6-time discs. Look, I'll tell you this, had I known 4-time claw buzzes, I remember sitting at Marshall Street with a stack of I'm literally looking through 40 of them. And I was not like one of those people who's like, I'm going to buy a disc, put it away. Hopefully Paul wins and I can resell these. But I mean, they're going for $60+ a pop, and they're incredibly great flying discs. But Paige goes out and wins. Now you got 6-time Fierces, 6-time Souls, 6 times Nukes, and then, you know, potential new stuff that she is going to come out with. So the disc market right now in disc golf is insane. I literally still cannot understand it, but it's very rare right now, especially with Discraft stuff, with how good it looks, that you buy a disc and you can't sell it for more than you bought it for. You know, like, it's insane.
This conversation is excellent. I want to speed it up a little bit just for the sake of what we're trying to cram into tonight. But Haley King, my general gut, and just maybe if you feel differently, share, my general gut is that like Haley's not, she's not looking to move right now. She gets kind of comfortable is how I see it. She's playing generally well, but not like feeling undervalued. That'd just be my feeling on it. Anybody disagree with that?
No, I feel the same way.
I wouldn't be surprised though, but I agree.
Okay. Hannah Blumroos, I don't see her moving along just generally. I don't. Maybe after this year, if she's able to tour and we see that she does really well, maybe she would. Missy Gannon. Yeah, we're talking blockbusters. I'm going to stop here. Maybe Katrina Allen, Sarah Hoke can be part of this conversation too. But Missy Gannon, big year. We're going based off of big years, feeling undervalued, meaning like worth more than what they made last year. Is she moving along? Evan, you got the floor.
My gut says she is, in the end, she is not going to move. I think she's got a really good relationship with Paige, and we said we don't think Paige is leaving Discraft. I think Paige hopefully will convince some people in-house to keep her. She absolutely deserves a huge raise. I don't know what she was getting paid, but that's probably going to get tripled, maybe quadrupled. I don't know what the numbers were before or what they'll be after, but she's going to get quite the raise. She had a fantastic year and deserves every penny of it.
Wes, what do you think? Same.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Discraft is happy to invest in players that have proven their worth, and I think this year Missy Gannon proved her worth with a tremendous season. So I do not see her leaving, and I definitely see her getting a big new contract.
Do you see that, or do you know that? No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
That would be my take, just from
Yeah.
my inner.
I'm just kidding. That was
relationship.
like me. Like I keep going back to Cole Ridall, and I'm like, "Hey,
It's
so
like,
are you have
what's
anything you want to say?"
actually- Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly, I think she stays. But I put her in that same boat as you
Ricky.
know. No. The Adam Hammond situation.
Oh, okay.
Where you had a great year, you want to ask for more money. How much is the company that you're sponsored by willing to pay you? How much do you value yourself now? So I think there's a potential where she goes up. I can't imagine it not working out to where she says, I want X amount of dollars. Discraft comes back with, $40,000 cheaper than that. I can't imagine they would meet somewhere in the middle, and then, she'd leave. I think she had an incredible year with Discraft. Discraft promoted her a ton. And I definitely think branding wise, she ultimately had a great year. So personally, I think she stays.
All right, and then to round this out, Katrina Allen, will she ever leave Prodigy? She just won Worlds, but for some reason, I feel like she is just Prodigy or bust, like die. Like, I'm just with Prodigy. It is what it is. If they underpay me, oh well. Like, not that she wants to be underpaid, but I'm saying, like, that's like the feeling I get.
See, I don't see Kat touring too much longer. Kat's in her 30s right now. I think
Paul's in his 30s.
Yeah, 31, but I'm talking like 34, 35 maybe.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean,
be careful, Nick.
Yeah, one bad injury, is detrimental to your whole career. Say it's done at that point. But at the same time, like, I don't see her every single tournament competing like she has been the last, what seems like 12 years.
Okay.
So
let me throw out a crazy idea, though. We talk about some other companies needing a top FPO player. Maybe she's getting to a little bit later point in her career. Could you see her signing, a 10-year, $3 million deal with somebody else and playing, into her early or mid 40s competitively? Because she's been around for a long time.
That's a
She's
deal
proven
that
she's
would
not-
draw her.
if someone offered her 10 years, $3 million, I 100% think she takes it. But at the same
Yeah.
time, do I see someone offering a 10-year, $3 million deal? That I don't as much.
I don't know. That was a great point, Wes. I liked it.
She's
But yeah,
got
I
3
think-
world titles. Who else is up there with her? I mean, Hokum has
3 or
world
2?
titles, still
2.
relevant.
Yeah.
2, excuse me, 2. Sorry. Yeah.
He knows something we don't. There's like this backdoor deals going on. She's already got a third line.
Or he's just trying to pump up Prodigy and make her pay more. Pick them. They were just going to give her 10 years, $2 million. He wants to be 10 years, $3 million.
Wes is actually
have
the
that-
agent.
They had that post with the special release disc
Yes.
that I think just happened to forget her by happen chance. It was reposted with her front and center. I found that a little bit interesting. We talked about reading between the lines in the off season, and the fact that she wasn't on that first post, your world champion who just won Worlds this year. I mean, at least in my circles, we all took note of that and thought it was interesting. So we talked about a couple of the names that might potentially move, and I think Kat could be a name that, if somebody threw the right money at her, could potentially move.
I would love it, Kat to like West Side. I think if there's a place for Kat to go though, it'd be one of the trilogies. Or imagine this: Kat goes back to Discraft. We're talking OG Kat goes back to Discraft.
OG, yeah.
Not a lot of people know that she was sponsored by Discraft way back in the day.
Hokum was as well.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Evan.
I don't know if we're going to wrap this up in a second or not, but I will say I don't think Kona leaves the Innova bubble, but I could see her moving like officially to Infinite.
She's got some discs lined up over there.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
She talks a lot about Infinite. I know they're like a sub sponsor and all that, and obviously affiliated with Infinite.
And we're
They
dabbling
haven't
in
signed a big FPO player yet either, have they?
right?
Yeah, give it a month. Freaking Kona Panis to Infinite. You heard it here first,
yeah,
folks.
Evan breaking the news
Evan
here.
broke it.
Let's go.
That's
But
right.
everyone blames Statmando if it's wrong.
Yeah.
No, please don't.
All right. So Sarah Hokum, generally, she could be in the conversation with everyone else, but I don't feel it. She's happy
Yeah,
with
I don't feel
MVP.
it.
And then the Mandahano or Valerie, I say the Mandahanos, the Valerie in the top 10 here. I don't see it. They just made good deals. She toured this year. I think she's finding her place. once she establishes herself a little more, maybe. All right, that wraps up the conversation on our speculation. I will say this, out of all the conversations we had tonight, we feel pretty strongly. I didn't want to overemphasize because some things, there's like people sharing things. I don't want to break confidentiality. But out of everything we talked about, there are some blockbusters that are going to happen, I feel, very strongly. And maybe they don't. Then everyone comes running back, say, what are you talking about, Matt? Well, that's fair too, because we're not sure. So all this is a bunch of wish-wash, who knows? But no, pretty strongly, there's going to be some blockbusters that happen this year, some point, hopefully soon. It'd be fun to watch and to hear about. Okay, you ready to stick around, Wes, and play a little stat or fiction and maybe a little judge that disc golfer?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's start out because we haven't done this in a couple episodes. Judge that disc golfer. Here we go. I think. Oh, here we go.
Judge That Disc Golfer, the game show where you judge a disc golfer you've never met.
Okay, so I went over to the Capital Disc Open. This is just south of Albany, New York. We've already talked about this a little bit. Interesting, or I'd say interesting event. Great event. Interesting layout in the woods. Super wooded. I talked my piece on that. Great time, great event. Probably the biggest in that area. But we did interview a few of the players out there. In fact, the player that we have coming up tonight is someone who won a CTP, and the prize, or a raffle, and the prize was being judged on the show.
Oh my God.
So they're like, next up, the prize for being judged on the Nick and Matt show. And the guy's like holding his head. He didn't like give his ticket in for like a long time. It was pretty funny.
Imagine that's what you win. Like, I would just be like, sick.
That's awesome.
Here I'm thinking like maybe $25 gift card, $50 gift card, something like that. No, I get to get judged by hundreds and hundreds of people when I tell them my internet distance.
So I didn't know that was originally going to be like a prize, but it was like on the moment. It was like the first raffle they gave away, like the first one. It's like warming up. Like, here you go. So this guy, see how excited he is. This is what he has won. Here we go. Let's introduce him.
All right, man. I just met you. Go ahead and introduce yourself. What's your name?
How are you? I'm Nick Warren.
All right, Nick. Welcome to the Nick and Matt show. It's always funny when I get someone named Nick in this game because it gets confusing because co-host Nick has to judge himself essentially. No.
I like it.
Kidding. All right, so you're here at the Capital Discs Open. This is out in New York, just south of Albany. It's a big event. You competed this weekend.
Yeah.
Tell everybody a little bit about your game. So how long have you been playing?
I've been playing for about a year and a half now.
Okay, a year and a half.
Yeah.
And what division did you play this weekend?
I played MA1.
Okay.
So,
MA1,
yeah.
A year and a half. Do you have a rating, or is this your first tournament?
I have a rating, not my first tournament. It's somewhere in like the 880s right now.
Okay,
like that.
880s. I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I say myself. I played one of my worst rounds ever, and it was 880 today.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of feeling out right now how it went. It's a learning experience, right? We all get that.
Absolutely,
Okay.
especially first couple tournaments. You know?
Yeah, for sure. So you've played about a year and a half. You're rated around the 880 range. How did you place in the MA1 division?
I placed 9th. I tied for 9th place, so I did pretty well, especially. I felt like that.
Yeah, and that was like a field of almost 30, so
yeah.
Really good job there. There's a mix at this venue of open shots, like park style, and then there's also very, very technically wooded. So you had to have a whole set of skills out here. Mm-hmm. How did you feel like you performed in the woods?
I felt pretty good about most of my shots. I think I stayed off the trees as much as I could, and really, I lost strokes putting. It was really the only downfall I felt like.
Okay, what do you feel like your strength is when it comes to disc golf?
I'm a very forehand dominant player. I like a flexi forehand, so that's my style, and that's like my bread and butter.
Okay. All right, let's ask the question here. This is what we've all come for. Judge that disc golfer. Let me ask this question. How far can you throw a disc?
Okay, I just realized I'm not supposed to be up on screen. It's supposed to be Evan. So while I possibly work on that, we're going to put Nick up first. Nick, you have to say what's happening here.
I swear, I'm like 150 feet off every single time people do distance. So now I'm thinking flexi forehands. I'm going to go 400 feet.
Okay. 400 feet to Nick. I disappeared there. Now I'm going to work on getting Evan up. 400 feet to, you said 400 feet, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. 400 feet. And we're going to put up next Wes Shinovar. See, now I got to move that along. Sorry, guys. We're working here. I'm working. Go ahead. Oh, my goodness. It's all getting crazy. Go ahead. Go ahead, Wes. Sorry.
Yeah. Forehand dominant player. He said putting was his weakness, so he seems like he's probably a pretty good thrower of the disc. Flex forehands, 1.5 years. It sounds like he's decent in the woods, so I'm guessing he doesn't have huge, wide open distance. I'm going to go 350.
Okay, 350 to Wes. Evan, you're up.
I'm going to split the difference and say 375.
I literally knew the second he said 350, I was just about to say Evan goes 375.
Wes gets
I always
the
go
under.
low, though, so this is new for me.
It's a tough spot to be. Wes gets the under. Nick gets the 400 over. Evan, you're in the middle. Let's see how he answers.
I can throw a disc 400 maybe.
Right on the freaking money. I tell you, forehand players, some of them just have this nasty forehand flex line where, they bomb it. So I don't know.
All right. There goes a point for Nick out of the gate. Who's buying lunches tonight, Nick?
I don't know. I need something though. I'll tell you that much.
All right. Let's get into question number 2.
If we were to hand you a stack of putters, 10 putters, and you had to go to Circle's Edge, and I'm not talking about how it went this weekend for you, maybe it's good or bad. 10 putters from Circle's Edge, how many are you going to make?
All right. How many putts is he going to make? Wes, you're up first.
5.
Okay, 5 out of 10. What's your reasoning for that? Do you feel like that's just a good guess?
If he throws 400 on a forehand, he said he's only been playing for 1.5 years, but 400 on a forehand is pretty strong. So I think he's downplaying his putting. He finished 9th in a big AM1 field. I'll give him 50%.
All right, Evan, you're up.
I think he might be saying his forehand's a little farther, or it might even be his backhand. I think he throws a little bit farther, not selling it too much, but a little bit. I think he's underselling his putting, and he can do 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Nick, you get the last.
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to go 4 out of 10.
All right, 4 out of 10. Let's see how he answers. Here we go.
8 of them.
All right, 8 out of 10. That's pretty good. Is that how it went this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I'd give it that.
Good.
Without a doubt.
All right, 8 out of 10. Who's that point go to?
Move that guy up.
Evan?
Yeah, I was just about to say throwing 400 feet, putting 8 out of 10.
Is that Evan?
consistently.
Yeah, that was me.
Get the heck
Let's
out
go.
of here.
I think this guy's only been playing 1.5 years, finished 9th in MA1. That's pretty good for 1.5 years, especially with how many players there are. I think this guy's confident. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, just he's confident.
Yeah. I mean,
He would have beat me that weekend.
I would have beat me too.
All right, here we go. Question number 3.
First, when it comes to tattoos, first of all, you don't have to answer this, but do you have any tattoos?
I do.
Are any of them disc golf related?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, here we go, everybody. You got to vote really hard for Nick to get a disc golf tattoo, and if it's going to be one of the following, a single basket, okay? That's just very generic, but it is what it is. You have a basket with a putter hitting the front rim. Okay, that's it. See, people watch your facial expressions. If you're listening in audio, he's giving me the, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Or you could have a Tasmanian devil, so cartoon style, 360 drive.
All right.
Okay. Or you can get a disc golf phrase of your choice. Maybe grip it and rip it, or death putt, or something that you like, right? So if you're going to go with one of those 4 types of disc golf tattoos, what are you going to choose?
All right, so first up is Evan. What disc golf tattoo does he choose?
I thought one thing until I heard that he was actually planning on getting a disc golf tattoo, and that kind of changed up my thinking. I'm going to go single basket.
Single basket. I think it's Nick. Yeah, Nick, you're up.
Basket with the doinked putt.
Doink putt.
Yes,
All right.
doink putt.
Wes, you can choose any that have been chosen for this one if you'd like to, or your own.
I'm going to go with the disc golf phrase. He strikes me as a disc golf phrase guy.
Do you think he's going to have some really unique phrase of his own, or maybe it'd be something that is really...
Nah.
Okay. Who knows?
1.5 years, he's going with something stock.
Grip it and rip it. Let's see. Here we go. Answer number 3 coming up.
I'm probably gonna choose the basket. Hitting the basket.
Oh, hitting the basket.
Doink putt.
Hitting the basket.
Yeah.
All right, the doink putt.
That's so funny.
That's what I was waiting for.
I
He goes,
celebrated too early.
The basket. And then he goes, hitting the basket. All right, Nick, you got it. All right, Nick's in the lead. 2 to Evan with 1. Wes, 0. All right. Good news. People are telling me in the chat the Patriots don't have 0 right now. They have 8. So we're doing okay. All right.
Well, what's funny though is he picks the and someone just said this. He goes, he never doinks putts, Nick. 8 out of 10 putting. So then I'm like, oh, so why are you getting the doinked putt tattoo?
Well, where did the other 2 go?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
The 2 that he missed are the ones that stand out.
Those are spit outs, of course. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
dead center.
All right.
They have to be.
So Evan has to get this right to push a playoff. Wes, if you get it, at least you're tied for second. Here we go.
Maybe.
Question number 4.
And now let's go to a question I don't feel like we've done very often as of late, but here it is. In your year and a half of playing disc golf, how many aces do you have?
How many aces does Nick have? Nick, the interview, Nick. All right, Wes, I believe you're up. Or no, Nick is up.
I think I saw
Oh,
this
Nick
one.
is up.
Yeah. Year and a half. He has 3. No, that's a lie. He has 2.
Nick, don't lie like that. All right, Wes, you're up.
I'm gonna say 5. This guy's confident. He's probably thrown at least 5 in.
Borderline 11. Okay.
I'm gonna
Evan.
be honest. I don't think New England has a ton of super easy courses that are just ace fests. I think it's gonna be more like, I think it's 0, but I'm gonna play the game and I'm gonna say 1.
Maine has a ton of them. I know he's in. New
Well, you're
York.
playing the
Yeah,
game, but 0 has been answered
yeah.
before.
Yeah. Well, I'm playing the game, so I'm dibs
Yeah.
on 1.
Okay. Yeah. So
So
that's
that way
it.
I get 0 too.
Yeah, that's right. You get
Yeah.
0. Nick said 2. Wes said 5. Okay. Let's see how he answers.
0. I have not had an ace yet.
Okay, 0 aces. All right. Well, you just answered all of our questions, and now we know a little bit more about you, and we get to judge you as a disc golfer.
Sounds like fun.
Thanks for coming out today. Thanks for participating, and appreciate your support.
Thanks a lot, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right. There's a point for Evan. We
need
a tie.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Sorry, Wes.
It was fun.
I'm trying to think of a tiebreaker here. From what I can remember about something, I was doing a tiebreaker for a different interview we were doing. So I'm not going to have a good one for this one.
We'll think about it. We don't have to do it now.
All right, we'll think about it. We're going to roll this over into stat or fiction. So let's get out of Judge
Sure.
That Disc Golfer.
Judge That Disc Golfer.
Well, Evan can't
the
play
game
stat or
show where
stat or
you
fiction.
judge a disc golfer you've never met.
That would be a very
It's-
unfair advantage.
It's actually true. Evan can't play stat or fiction. So this is team. I'm rolling over into Evan's points.
Ooh, okay.
What'd you have there for points? 2?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, a tie. I'm coming in strong. All right, we're gonna roll it into stat or fiction. So there's the
That's
whistle.
so
I don't
funny.
know.
I never noticed that before until tonight, and I've heard it both times.
Maybe it didn't make it through. We'll see. All right, here we go into stat or fiction. All right, stat or fiction, as always, presented by Stat Mando. Now, look at this, is all messed up. I like beyond messed up with how everything's going right now on the switcher. So, Evan, you got to lead us into this, but now I've got to switch some names around. This should be fun.
All right. So, Nick, you mentioned last week that you noticed that there were 0 1100 rated rounds in 2021. It's still 2021. So this is all weird for me to word it. But if it continues, this is the first time since 2007 that there have been 0 1100 rated rounds. That is true. Here on to the stat or fiction is 2019 had the most 1100 rated rounds in one single year with 8.
Which year?
2019 had the most 1100 rated rounds in one single year with 8.
Dude, I hate this because it's going to be like, no, it was 7.
Well, that's the fun part about it. You want me to start again?
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Stat.
Oh, I feel like that. Yeah, go ahead,
I'm
Wes.
going with stat too. Yeah, I'm gonna go with stat.
All right, stats are going up. I'm going to say fiction. And let's roll the dice here and see how it plays out. What do we got, Evan?
All right, let's go Team Evan. Matt, that is fiction.
Wow. Nice.
2019 with 8 is correct. That's true, but 2012 had 11.
Oh wow.
Oh, it was which one had? What was the question? I thought it was, did 2019
Had
have
the most 1,100 rated rounds in one single year.
I
with
totally
8.
missed that. Gotcha.
So
I
it's-
thought we were just saying 2019 had 8.
I threw you
Gotcha.
off. I threw
But to be
him
honest-
off because
to
I
be
said
honest,
that.
What year did you say? 2012?
2012 had 11.
11?
Yeah.
Jeez. What for
That's
nonsense
funny.
and all that?
My little comment about no, it's probably 7 that
Yeah,
year.
I
threw him
definitely
off.
thought it was 8, and that's why I was like, I think that's a stat because 2019 was a pretty incredible year disc golf wise. I mean, Paul got
No, my point is we were
yeah.
focusing on the year.
I
and
did
how
not.
many.
Yeah, I did not think of that.
All right, so now I have the lead.
50-50.
Thank you for that boost there, Evan, coming into this.
He literally has
You're
an
welcome.
email. He knew that.
Evan's over here like sending me papers under the
Yeah.
displays.
Yeah,
Exactly.
holding fingers under the desk or something.
No, we're not. We're playing footsie though. Okay. All right.
One
a
tap
little
for
far.
stat, 2
Yeah,
for
one tap. That's funny. One tap for true. All right, here we go.
All
Give us
right.
the next one.
Okay, so another true fact to start it off. Matt Oram shot an 1102 rated round in round 5 at 2008 Worlds while he was rated 1011. This makes Matt Oram the lowest rated player to ever shoot an 1100 rated round. That is at the time of shooting it. So when Matt Oram shot an 1100 rated round, he was rated 1011.
All right, Wes, you're up.
I'm gonna go stat. Mattio's a baller. He's been around a while.
I feel like that's a stat as well. Nick is sitting there
Stat.
thinking, okay, Nick says stat. Well, we're not losing points on anybody here.
I think I can't lose 2.
All right, how does this play out, Evan?
Got you all. This is fiction.
Wow.
It's
Just do the
crazy.
opposite of what I do.
Yeah, I mean, this will make people question the rating system as well. In 2011, Terry Gallops shot an 1103 rated round while being rated 1003 at the Lake Reedsville Charity Winter Bowl. There's probably like 9 or 10 people in the division. No one had 1,000 rated round except for him. He was at 1,100. Everyone else was below 1,000. He was 11 strokes better than the next player that round.
What?
But Matt Oram was second.
Nick is now getting his inside scoops. I went to his camera. He's like looking at his phone. All right.
Phone friend.
No points. All right. So last question. Unless Nick gets it right, then there's a tiebreaker. So
right.
Let's see.
Flipping it over to the FPO side and kind of similar. 2021, starting with the lead and stat, 2021 had the most 1040 plus rated FPO rounds with 4. And this doubles the previous record that was set in both 2018 and 2020. So the stat or fiction is Paige Pierce had 0 of these 1040 plus rated rounds in 2021. So there were 4 in 2021. The stat or fiction is that Paige Pierce was 0 of them.
She had 0 in 2021.
You have the box, man.
That's this year.
This
Right, to
year,
be clear.
Paige Pierce had 0 1040 rated rounds or higher.
No way. That is fiction. Nick, you're up.
All right, well, I have to go stat.
That's right. But is that what you feel? I'll put you down as stat.
I mean, what's kind of funny is I actually do kind of feel that way because
Okay.
a lot of the tournaments that she won or played very well at, she did consistently play well at, but there wasn't a lot of 1040s. Obviously there was only 4 of them, but I'll go stat.
Okay. Yeah, you have to. I mean, but okay. Wes, you can
Yeah,
get
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, you can get 2 points if you get it right.
I'm gonna go stat as well. I know it was a tough year for her, but she started out on a heater, did good at Worlds. I'm going stat.
All right, let's see how it plays out.
All right. The answer is stat.
Wow, Nick.
I don't have the exact number, but she had 2 1030 range rated rounds, none 1040 or above. So it wasn't like she did nothing. Like 1030 is obviously incredible. It was Haley King, Owen Scoggins, Haley King again, and Katrina Allen.
I was gonna say I know Haley had 1 or 2 of those, Own with the 1053, and then
Katrina had the
Jonesboro. 1042 or something like that. I knew Haley had 1, and that's where I was like, I don't think Paige had 1 though.
And then just a wild stat. Before this season, there have been 8, if I'm counting up the numbers correctly, 1040 plus rated FPO rounds. Paige Pierce owned 5 of those 8. but had 0 of the 4 this year.
All right. Interesting. So we're tied up if I did my math right. 3. Wes, you got on the board. That's at least something to be proud of.
You didn't get skunked.
And Nick and Matt are battling. Nick came into studio to do this. I think we have to break this with a arm wrestling match. No.
Well, I'm going to say right now, I lose.
No, we both are like, we're both going to lose. He just worked all day.
Oh, it's me against you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought it was me against Evan. I was going to say, yeah,
then, you vastly overrated me.
Oh,
I mean,
so Nick goes against Evan first.
Yeah.
Nick against Evan first, and then I'll go against Evan after Nick.
Nah.
All right. So what are we going to do? I know you're usually ready.
Yeah, let's do this. Closest to the correct number, not a stat or fiction. How many 1100 rated rounds happened in 2020?
1100.
Yeah.
2020.
Yep.
Who's first?
Whoever wants to be first.
It's 3 or 2. 3.
6.
Matt gets it on the head. 3.
Oh, baby. Yes. 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 I don't know why I was feeling it. It was like, I'm like, it's not that many. Yeah, I don't know who it was. Paul and Ricky and
yeah, I'd have to look it up.
Paul or something.
That's okay. Have the numbers per year.
All right, let's get out of stat or fiction. Brought to you by Statmando. Thanks for partnering with the Nick and Matt Show. Wes, thanks so much for coming on. I hope you had a good time. You added some great points and contributed awesome to our conversation. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. Always fun. I don't know if anybody says yes faster to this than I do, but I'm always pumped to join anytime you guys need or want to have me. Just hit me up. I'm always down.
Sweet.
Well, I mean, Barsby turned us down. LaVisca turned it. No.
Did Barsby actually turn us down?
Listen, no, in all seriousness, Wes, we've actually talked off season. We're like, hey, let's do something together during the off season. Like, let's make something happen. So like, this was already lined up. But my point was like, yes, actually Greg got back to us and was like, hey, I'm going out to a birthday with my girlfriend. I think it's his girlfriend or somebody.
Yeah.
And Kale's like, I'm just getting to the airport to get on my flight. We'll do it another time. So we would like to have
that was
Barsby
tonight
on.
You're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
We'd like to have Barsby on. We'd like to have Kale on.
Yep.
But contributing, you know what? It would have been awkward to have some of those conversations with them. So I'm glad Wes came on.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, so Barsby, like, do you feel undervalued?
Yeah.
And like, why did you resign? Like,
yeah.
Is Ricky leaving? Are you the new headliner? So, anyways, we've made it to that point, Nick. We'll close it out. Wes, you can hang around for the closeout if you want. So let's get it.
Yeah. Anyways, to everyone watching right now, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. That'd be greatly appreciated. We very, very much thank you for tuning in tonight. If we do not see you, have a very Merry Christmas. Have a very happy holidays, whatever you guys all celebrate. To everyone listening, post audio, produce, everything like that, thank you once again. Tell someone you love them, and we'll catch you in the next one.
That's right. Wes, Evan, Nick, you guys are awesome. See you around.
The Nick and Matt Show, a disc golf podcast designed for you, the disc golfer. Find the Nick and Matt Show on your favorite podcast platforms or stream us live exclusively on the Foundation Podcast's YouTube channel.